Good evening. Could everybody please take a seat? At this time, I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for November 18th, 2024. For viewers watching at home, some members of the public may be participating via video conference or telephone conference. Would you all please stand and join me in the Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ferris, absent. Commissioner Tyler Kettlecutt, absent. Commissioner McMahon? Here. Vice Chair Link?
Present.
Chair Ledson?
Here. Excuse me a second while I sit on my jacket to make it look like I'm not hunching over. Next, we go on to number 4. Tonight we have with us Deputy Community Development Director Fabiola Melliker. Are there any written comments, announcements, or continuances at this time?
We have a supplemental packet that has been distributed to the Commission and posted containing information on written correspondence received for both staff and the public related to item 7A.
Thank you. Now we go on to item 5, public comment. Do we have any public comment, Madam Secretary?
No.
We will then skip that and go to item 6, which is the consent calendar, which I believe all we have is the minutes from our October 21st Planning Commission meeting. Do any of my fellow Planning Commissioners have any comments or a motion?
I will move to approve.
Seeing no other hands for comments, Madam Secretary, please prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Link?
Aye.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0 with Commissioners Ferris and Tyler Kettlecutt absent.
Next, we go on to our public hearings. First will be item 7A with regard to the skate park at Reno Road. Will the recording secretary please open the public hearing on item 7A?
Hearing having been advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 7A, special use permit SUP 2024-70012, major modification, and protected tree permit PTP 2024-70110 to allow the demolition of an existing 10,000 square foot skate park facility and 27 parking spaces to construct a new 20,000 square foot skate park facility, 4 new 50 feet high LED light poles to be illuminated until 10 p.m. daily, shade structures, covered picnic area, bench spectator seating, fencing, and security system, as well as new landscaping and hardscaping with encroachment into the protected zone of 1 California sycamore tree, Platanus racemosa, at the existing 28-acre Borchard Community Park within the public, quasi-public, and institutional lands and facilities PL zone, including one waiver to allow the light poles to exceed 35 feet high and find that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA guidelines pursuant to Class 1, Section 15301, existing facilities as determined by the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board, the lead agency for the proposed project located at Borchard Community Park, 190 North Reno Road, assessor's parcel number APN 668-0-020-825. The applicant is the Conejo Recreation and Park District.
And my understanding is with us to present on behalf of the staff is Senior Planner Justine Kendall.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners and members of the public. The presentation before you is, as you just heard, a request to allow the demolition of an existing skate park facility and 27 parking spaces in order to construct a new skate park facility with 50-foot high lighting at the existing Borchard Community Park. The applicant requests that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the applications just mentioned. The project is before the Planning Commission due to the requested waiver of the height limitations for the 4 proposed light poles. The subject 27-acre property, known as Borchard Community Park, is owned and managed by the applicant, the Conejo Recreation and Park District, otherwise known as CRPD. The development of the park was permitted by special use permit, and it has been modified several times to allow athletic lighting on site, as well as an addition to the community center building. Currently, the park is developed with 284 parking spaces. The Borchard Community Center, seen in the center of the image here, a soccer field, softball fields, picnic areas, lighted tennis courts, a lighted outdoor basketball court, volleyball courts, playgrounds, horseshoe pits, and bocce courts. The existing skate park, built in 2002, is approximately 10,000 square feet with ledges, banks, rails, a hubba, and a quarter pipe, and is open from sunrise to dusk, 7 days a week. Supervised lessons and birthday parties are offered periodically at the skate park as well. The existing park site is located north of Borchard Road, east of North Reno Road, and south of Newbury Park High School, with the existing skate park in the corner here defined by the intersection of North Reno and Borchard Roads. The southern boundary of the skate park is bordered by a Ventura County flood control easement. The subject property is zoned public, quasi-public, and institutional lands and facilities zone, or PL, with a general plan land use designation of parks, golf courses, and open space. Surrounding uses include single-family residences to the northwest, east, and south, commercial to the west, and a high school to the north. The current and proposed use as a skate park is consistent with the city's general plan land use designation, which allows for public and private recreation and open space. The existing park can be seen here on the left within this orange box, and the existing parking lot used intermittently as a storage area is on the right. The proposal before you involves a major modification to the original SUP for the demolition of the existing skate park and construction of a new 20,000 square foot skate park, including the installation of 4 new 50-foot tall light poles with a total of 16 light fixture heads, new ground-mounted electrical equipment, 4 15.5-foot tall shade structures, a picnic area with approximately 20 seats, a security system, and the addition of approximately 100 shrubs and hardscaping. Due to the expansion of the skate park, 27 parking spaces currently used as overflow storage area are to be removed, with a total of 257 parking spaces to remain. The maximum capacity for the skate park is approximately 140 people, compared to 85 people under current conditions. Supervised lessons, camps, and birthday parties will continue to be offered at the site during open hours when programming is not taking place. The operating hours will remain the same, with the extension of nighttime operation until 10 p.m. to be consistent with the rest of the park. The proposed project complies with all the requirements of the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, including specific development standards for the PL zone in Article 32 of the Municipal Code, but excluding the structure height of the proposed light poles. A waiver is requested to allow the light poles to be 50 feet high, where normally required to be no more than 35 feet. All other structures, including the shade structures, will remain below the maximum height. The proposed lights will not add significant new lighting to the park, which already has 3 lighted sports fields and tennis courts. The height of the poles is proposed to exceed 35 feet, as just mentioned, up to 50 feet, in order to provide lighting that covers enough area while minimizing off-site spillover. Subsequent modifications subsequent modifications to the original SUP, similar to this one, allowed the installation of 4 40-foot poles, 4 50-foot poles, and 6 65-foot poles, which are currently existing at the park. As shown here, all light spillover will remain on the subject property except for a small area of North Reno Road, seen in yellow here in the image. The project site is a relatively flat, previously disturbed parking lot and existing skate park. Grading would include 785 cubic feet of cut and 390 cubic feet of fill, resulting in a net export of 395 cubic feet. A new 8-foot high iron fence will surround the skate park, replacing the existing 8-foot tall iron fence currently surrounding the existing park and storage area. Vehicular access points to the park will not change. Due to the expansion of the skate park, as mentioned, 27 parking spaces are to be removed, with a total of 257 spaces to remain. There is no standard amount of required parking for parks and recreation facilities. However, the existing parking spaces which are to be removed are located in an overflow lot currently used as storage area. Therefore, it is believed the park will continue to have sufficient parking spaces to accommodate current and proposed usage. The conceptual landscape plan includes new native and drought-tolerant landscaping around the proposed skate park and related mechanical equipment on the east side. Additionally, there are 5 red ironbark eucalyptus and 3 pistachios proposed to be protected in place, as well as 7 crepe myrtles and 1 carrot wood to be removed. A California sycamore tree with an 18-inch diameter trunk planted as part of the existing parking lot landscaping will be protected in place in its existing planting area, seen here in yellow. The project was analyzed in conformance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. It has been determined that the proposed project is categorically exempt from the provisions of CEQA pursuant to Class 1 categorical exemption. The CRPD Board of Directors determined that the project is categorically exempt as they are the lead agency for this project. It is staff's recommendation to adopt a resolution approving the special use permit major modification, including the requested waiver and protected tree permit, in addition to finding the project exempt. I, as well as other city staff, are available for questions and clarification.
Thank you very much. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Lake?
I think this is just a housekeeping item for me and probably for Mr. Heher, but if CRPD is the lead agency and made the determination that the project is categorically exempt, does the city still need to make a determination as well?
For the exemptions, I think it's just a protocol that we would have you make that finding. It is a Class 1 exemption pursuant to CEQA, but as you'll note, for the other ones, it's more of a, they are the lead agency.
So it's more of a formality.
It is.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just had one, just to confirm. So essentially, this complies with all of the other rules and codes, with the one exemption, so to speak, being the over in height pole with regard to the lighting.
That's right. That's the only reason why we're before you tonight.
And you've received no comments from any neighbors or other people that have any concerns with regard or made any comments objecting to the lighting?
Nothing in writing. I received one phone call of somebody asking about the project and wanted more details. They did not submit a formal comment. They weren't wholesale opposed to the project by any means.
Okay. And again, I'm asking for speculation at some point, but when do you think, if this was approved, when do you think it would actually open, so to speak?
I will defer that question to the applicant.
But 1 second before that, is there any other questions for the staff? Doesn't look like there is, so let's go to the applicant. You have 15 minutes. Oh, 1 second, 1 second. Now go ahead.
Thank you, Planning Commission and city staff. Just to jump on that first question, the goal would be, if approved tonight, we would proceed with the building permit process with the city, and hopefully within the first 6 months of 2025, we'd be able to break ground. Weather dependent, it's probably 4 to 6 months of construction to complete the project. So thank you for having CRPD here tonight. City is a great partner over the years. The district, as well as the community, is really excited about this project. This has been a project since before COVID. We started a focus group because it's a niche kind of project for the district, a very specific user group and use that's happening. And so we formed a focus group out of community members. We did an open mailing for 1,000 feet around the park itself, as well as we posted advertisement for the focus group throughout all of our centers and other facilities. We were able to get 9 people, not including staff, on that focus group, and that focus group was made up of skaters themselves, parents of skaters, as well as the business community, also 2 principals, one of which that does not skate and one that does skate. So pretty unique variety of folks there, as well as just some at-large community members that were just interested in the park project itself. Unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of things kind of paused, so we did have a pause in the development and the outreach process. However, after about a half a dozen meetings with the focus group, we were able to come up with a conceptual plan for the skate park. And then in time, going through the district process, getting funding to have a consultant, as that is, again, a very niche kind of design element, we were able to hire California Skate Parks. So they are a design build company of skate parks. If you're familiar with the Olympics, the last 2 years, California Skate Parks built the Olympics skate parks. So pretty cool between the last 2 Summer Olympics. So we hired that group and basically worked through with our staff, which we do have folks that are programming skate classes that are skaters themselves, as well as those that are maintaining not just the concrete, but the fencing, the landscaping, and other things that happen in our parks, but specifically the skate park. And so we worked with our consultant group and came up with a design as proposed by city planning tonight. And so the skate park, really, the increase is because of the interest and need of the community, going from 10,000 to 20,000 square feet. Currently, we do have programming that happens in the parking lot because it's overflow, there's space. And so we're showing that there is a need for it in the community, as well as it just being something that over time, the programming evolves, the interest evolves, and so our facilities need to evolve with the interest of the community. And so hence the increase to 20,000 square feet. The design is multi-generational. So I am not a skater, so I'm not going to pretend that I know the very specific parts of skating. However, there are different types, right? So there's vertical and there's bowl skating, there's flow skating, there's also street skating. And so basically this design pulls in that as well as some other types of skating to be able to provide a place for all different generations, all different interests of skating. The skate park is designed for accessibility, so if someone wanted to utilize it at their own risk, obviously, but with a wheelchair, they could do it. We've worked with our consultant because that is a trend that they are seeing in the skate park world and in the skating world. And so the goal would be to be able to make as many folks able to use this facility as possible, which is great. And some highlights from it, obviously shade is something as the climate gets hotter. We've been implementing shade, whether it's in our parks, in our playgrounds within our parks, or our community centers. So it naturally made sense to take a look at it for the skate park. As you can see from the images on the display, there's a lot of cool features and functions, one of which is colored concrete. Right now we have standard gray concrete. So we are looking at doing colored concrete that reduces glare. It also reduces heat and reflection, so it's more comfortable to be out there. And then obviously you have the retreat of the shade throughout the skate park. And then lighting as well. So we do have lighting already on all the fields and the courts at the existing community park. And so it made sense to be able to take a look at that and to decide about that expense was important because so we don't have to move people along in the winter months like we have right now. And then also even if we do get heat throughout the winter months when the sun's going down early, people can utilize the park. So trying to maximize the ability of the park facility. And then a couple other highlights would be the gathering area and picnic areas within the skate park itself. So that's something that right now it either takes over some of the space within the skate park or spills over into the parking lot. So trying to find that balance and incorporating that communal aspect of it, as well as space for outdoor classrooms. Right now when they're doing classes, they kind of have to shut down a large portion, if not the whole park. With the size of the park that we're doing, we would be able to keep open skate happening, as well as having special areas set aside for classes. And we have children as young as 4 that are starting to skate, which is pretty awesome. And then we've incorporated some storage in the programming, as well as improved access. We do have some limited sidewalks currently. We're looking to expand that to make better connections to the perimeter public right-of-ways, as well as within the park site itself. So we do have some traffic calming measures to keep people slowing down, whether it's the speed table in front of the main entry, which will slow folks down. We do have a high population of high school people parking at the facility because of the adjacent Newbury Park High School. So really the goal is to improve this to a level of this will last for another 20 to 30 years, right? So it served the community great for the past 20, but it is time to look at replacement just due to things start getting worn down. There's 2 types of concrete in the construction world. There's concrete that cracks and concrete that cracks. So we're kind of living that right now. And so we're definitely trying to get ahead of that. And then just as far as the outreach process, we did hold community meetings. So we did that same mailer over 1,000 feet. We held 2 community meetings on site reviewing the latest plans prior to in coordination with city planning. I did mention that we'd hope to start in the first 6 months of 2025 if approved tonight and securing the permits as needed. The work would probably be anywhere from 4 to 6 months depending on weather, as I mentioned. And really, the idea would be that we would have temporary ability to be able to provide skating Kurt Gunnings, our rec supervisor who oversees the skate unit, and they've already worked on getting temporary ramps and things set up so they can do programming out at the existing basketball court, as well as they use other facilities throughout the district to be able to provide classes and such. And then the project is funded, so we do have funding as part of our capital improvement fund, and we would be looking to execute as soon as we get the proper approvals. So thank you very much. We're real excited about this project, and I'm available for any questions.
I have to apologize. I was so focused on getting an answer, I forgot to do the typical, which is, could you please state your name and city of residence?
Sure. Andrew Mooney. I'm from Camarillo, California.
And you are what position with?
Oh,
regard
I'm
to-
sorry. I am the Director of Parks and Planning with Kenai Recreation Park District.
Again, my apologies for not having that up front. Questions from commissioners? See, I just had one. I was actually had my car across the street at the mobile station and walked over and was checking out the skate park, and somebody came up and asked me a question I'll relay to you is, with the expansion of this process, what process is CRPD going to do to monitor this park on an ongoing basis?
Yes, so we do have full-time staff at the recreation center, as well as half of my grounds operations and my building maintenance operations is out of Borchard Shop. So we do have a lot of eyes on the park facility, and we do have one ground staff specifically designated to Borchard Community Park. So we do, between our two divisions within the district, we're keeping eyes on it. We do have camera systems at a variety of our sites, so we've utilized that over the years. And that helps a lot with Kurt and his staff, as well as other staffs throughout the district. So.
And the other question their son asked me was, are you going to make sure that you build the material out of something that isn't going to crack? And you answered that question.
We will try to build it as best we can. So
Okay.
we got the right group to do it.
Good. I had a question from Commissioner McMahon.
I think I need to report that I did go on site, and Mr. Mooney and his associates showed me around and answered my questions. And so I just wanted to make sure that the public knew that.
Okay, any other questions? I think that's it, thank you. At this point, we'll go to some, I think we have two speaker cards.
We have 4.
We have 4.
Two on Zoom.
They've multiple, 2 on Zoom, okay. First, what I have in my hand, first is Doug Nichols, followed by John Burkhardt. And then I'll go to the Zoom ones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doug Nichols, Thousand Oaks, board member with the Canal Rec and Park District. Thank you for entertaining this, your consideration for this tonight. For those of you familiar with Newbury Park and Borchard Park, it is, in essence, many ways the hub of that part of our community. So much happens at Borchard Park. It's one of our busiest, and we've got so many things going on there all the time. But one thing I wanted to emphasize, I think Andrew Mooney did a great job of summarizing the project, and obviously you've got a report there with the details, is we actually make a constant effort whenever we have a project like this, whether it's new or a refurbishment in this case, to reach out to the community. I know in many instances, the projects that you see, you have a developer come in and they have a proposal, and then often, once that gets approved, that developer's out of town, and now you go to the next owner. We stay the owner. So when we have a development project, we are considering ourselves a permanent neighbor. So we know that whatever is going to be happening on that park, that we will be hearing about it on a daily basis if things don't go right. So we make sure that we reach out early and often, well beyond what the standard requirements are, both in distance and time. You heard that we did have a community group that got together, not only for design of the facility, but for reaching out to the community. So it's one thing that I think is essential when you become a permanent neighbor, that you want to make sure that you stay a good neighbor. So we've encountered that a number of times, and it's worked out for us quite well. We make sure we get those issues identified and addressed early on. The other thing I wanted to mention, whether it's lighting or noise or pickleball or whatever the current issue is, we try to keep up with what the current trends are, and the lighting gives us the capacity to extend programming, which, with working parents, whether, even if it's remote, and you're working at home, you're still working, after-hours activities is important for whether it's the adults or the kids in our neighborhood. So we're trying to expand, since we can't build a whole lot of new facilities, just expand the capacity with the programming that we have, whether it's indoor or outdoor. So by having these lights, it helps us to do that, where they can continue, and those who want to, skate late on a Tuesday night when it's 45 degrees outside, I guess they're welcome to it. But just thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to working with you, as we have always appreciated the working relationship with the city, and I know you've been a key part of that, so thank you for your support. And I know if you do have any questions, our staff, and we do have a number of staff here, people that actually do the skating and skateboarding, so if you have any techniques that you want to learn, we have the people here who can teach you that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. I'm actually disappointed the YouTube guys did not decide to show up for the hearing, but maybe another time. Next, we have John Burkhead, followed by Timothy Hager. And again, when you come up, please give your name and city of residence.
Okay, my name is Pat Burkhead. Good evening, everyone. And I'm going to raise two concerns that my husband has. He has hearing issues, so he asked me to do it for him.
And just so you know, you had a total of 5 minutes. I just wanted to, for the lights there in front of you.
I'm sorry, say that
You
again?
have a total of 5 minutes of time to speak. I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure you knew that.
First of all, the skateboard park sounds wonderful. And having sons and grandsons and daughter who skated, I understand how important it is to them. The concerns that we have are, we live in the neighborhood, and 50-foot lights shining in the windows until 10 at night is, just not comfortable with us. So I just wanted to put that out there so that you understand that. Any questions?
No, I don't think so. If there's any.
Oh, wait.
Also, one thing, could you fill out a form yourself, since you were the one that was actually speaking when you get a chance, so we have it on the record?
My husband did, John
You're
Burkett.
the one that's speaking, so it's kind of one of those things we want to make sure we have the record correct as to who actually presented the information. When you
Okay.
get a chance. It's not that big a deal.
I'll do
Commissioner
that.
McMahon actually has a question.
Can I ask you, if you don't mind, where your house is in relation to the park and the skateboard area?
It's on Dewey Avenue, and then in the backyard, there's a hill that goes down to Borchard, and the park would be right across the street. So those lights, 50-foot lights, are even with the windows.
I apologize, but we do live on West Dewey Avenue, which overlooks the park. And right now, it appears to be baseball field, soccer, and that. I went down and viewed the existing skateboard park, which is closer to Reno Road. I was confused when I saw the notice where the new or the renovated park will be, and it appeared to be right along Borchard, what do we say, Reno to Wendy. That area would be inundated with this new skateboard facility and additional lighting and everything. The concern was, how does that affect the people that live on the ridge right above Borchard looking onto the park? And as my wife said, even today, the few lights that are on shine right into our house. I can see ants walking on my patio at night until 10:45 at night. My fault for not knowing this was going to happen. However, why is there a need to have 50-foot lights, which actually are higher than my house, and I'm up on a hill above the park? And the statement I was reading says from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m., the lights will be on. It's just a concern I have as a simple person living in a house. And I had these questions, and I think they gave them to you, and they're just basic questions. And again, I apologize because of a hearing problem that it hit me 7 years ago, having served in Vietnam as a platoon leader in late 69 and 70, and being exposed to high decibels, which, again, there is a noise problem with the park. 30 years later, I started losing my hearing. So I thought I could do this tonight. She's going to do it for me, but I just wanted to ask those basic questions, and you can reply to them or let me know some other way, because I actually cannot understand what you're saying, not because I'm deaf, it's because of a different kind of hearing impairment that I got without intention. So I don't know if you had anything you were going to add, or,
You got about 10 seconds.
again, I apologize.
It's okay.
Yeah, we've covered it all.
Okay,
So-
thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming out and giving us your information.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Timothy Hager. Please state your name and city of residence.
Hi,
Oh,
my
Hagel.
name's Timothy Hagel, and I live in the unincorporated area. Although if I could afford it, I would live in Thousand Oaks. Just going to say that. I just wanted to list my support and the support of Safe Passage Youth Foundation for the skate park. We send a lot of kids over there to the skate park. Safe Passage Youth's sole focus is providing activities and removing barriers for 600 of the most underserved children of the Conejo Valley. And they are excited and revved up to use this park. And we cannot thank CRPD enough and the city for this process to hopefully make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. On Zoom, we have Aaron Carl. I'm hoping I'm not botching your name as much as I did the last speaker. Mr. Carl?
Yes, I'm here. Aaron Carlay. I live in Thousand Oaks. I wanted to speak on behalf of the skate park. I am a old skater with young children who have been taking skate lessons at the skate park. My daughter is 6 years old. They have a fantastic program with female skate instructors and an all-girls class, which just really helps eliminate a lot of the barriers that exist in the skating world, just like all sports worlds. And I've just been so impressed with the level of care and detail that they've provided in instruction and just mentorship in general, being a friend. So I can't say enough good things about this program. I myself have talked 4 other parents into enrolling their children into it, and the benefits that they've seen have been instrumental, have been astronomical as well. So thank you for the time. I really appreciate it and really appreciate CRPD and all that they do for our community.
Thank you. Next, we have Martin Akfa, followed by Dimitri, whichever one you want to go first. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
Thank you. I'm Dmitry Aqua, parent of Martin Aqua, who's represented here, and he's like skater and trying to do his best. So I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks. Basically, almost a year ago, he started his skateboarding at Borger Skate Park. He didn't know nothing about skateboarding. We signed him up for the classes, and he felt in extreme love with that sport. So basically, he started progress. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So he quickly started progressing to really good level, and basically he ended up spending like every day for past like 5 months or something, skating and trying to be a pro athlete. That's like basically his goal. Due to the skateboarding, basically, he got a lot of friends in skateboarding community, like traveling like other parks to skate. He looking forward to participate in competition. And I know in our area some other kids who at the pro level already. I'm not gonna call names. It's like a few other kids who's like literally close to start competing in Olympics. But unfortunately, right now the situation is that our current skate park is outdated. Unfortunately, it was like built 20 years ago. It doesn't have any lights, which is also a huge, huge pain, especially in the winter. I do understand folks here was rising concern about lights. I get that, but just example of the Carpinteria skate park. Carpinteria skate park also has lights, but the light poles, even they higher, they can like angle it that way that they shine only on a skate park area. It's like you even cannot see the lights outside of the skate park. It's not gonna bother you as well. I'm just like trying to cover like any concerns as far as I can see. And also like for him, right now, like let me try to walk you through our daily schedule. Right after school, I'm picking him up. Like he's trying to eat in a car to rush in the Moore Park skate park for like hour and a half or 2 hour session. And before it will start, it's going to be dark because like you literally cannot skate in the darkness. And then like he's going drive back to the home to start doing his homework, which also can like a little bit hard for 8 years old to even like follow the schedule. But he's doing his best as well. And also me as a parent, what I do to kind of like help him, and that will benefit his, I hope, future career. Like we try, like when we have a time to go to Carpinteria skate park, for example, which has lights. Ventura skate park going to have lights as well. They start construction already. Santa Clarita skate park has lights, but all these parks that I mentioned, there's like hour and a half driving from here. And all businesses that in our area, potentially can be in our area, going to that skate parks. Skate shops, for example, they also like not even like looking into our area. And we basically in between of them, let's say Golden Angle, where like all businesses outside of that angle and we as a community completely abandoned. So that's like basically my couple points why skateboarding and the skate park, how it will benefit. And also I'm not like even talking about like there is California Skate Park Association. Oh, wait a second. Castle, California Amateur Skate Park League. Which is a competition for kids. From that competition, Tom Shar basically went through that competition, and Tom Shar got a silver medal on Olympics this year. So we, with that type of the skate park, like looking on the plan, we have a huge chance to have castle in our area, which bring a lot of kids to our area, which bring a lot of businesses to our area, and will expose our area to better future. And will involve more kids as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did he want to make any additional comments?
I don't, but I believe.
You submitted a card. I just want to make sure I'm being respectful if he had anything else to add. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just had a card brought to me for our last one, Weston Montgomery. Oh, did he, 1 second, did you want to? You can go to the smaller one there, right there. There you go.
So, I need like the skate park because, so Moore Park skate park, it's totally fine, but like, I have to rush after school because it doesn't have lights. But because of the winter, it gets dark very quick. So I don't have enough time. I have to eat, I have to rush. And that's the reason why, like, we need the skate park because we need lights. Like, it's, I don't have to say, but like, we need lights because like, it's winter and like, it starts getting darker earlier. I want to become a pro, but I can't because there's like no lights. I have to buy construction lights to go to Moore Park skate park, then light it up. But lights only work for like 30 minutes or something. So that's why we need like lights. And then skate park because it's like bigger, closer, and like it's like much better in all other skate parks because it has like lights and shade covering, and that's like pretty much all I can say.
I think you've communicated your position very well. Thank you. Mr. Montgomery. And then the last one I have is Ed Villa on Zoom after this. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Weston Montgomery. I'm a resident of Ventura, but the Conejo Valley and Thousand Oaks is my hometown. Thank you, Commission and staff. I wanted to be an advocate for recreation and recreation facilities with the special district. I utilize the Borchard Skate Park a lot, and I think the sport of skateboarding can sometimes have a stigma, but I just wanted to remind the Commission that at Borchard Park and Borchard Community Center, there's currently tennis court lights, basketball court lights, soccer field lights, and I believe they're probably under 50 foot tall because there's a variance included, but I just support the variance, and I don't think that's too big of an issue because of the good that comes from the programming. I also just want to mention that if you've been there, the facility is in the end of its life. It was built very small for liability standards of the day, and you've seen the plans. The plans look amazing, and the programming the special district does is incredible. So I just love to see I was really happy to see this agenda and see the 2 items that the CRPD is bringing forward. I just wanted to support them, and I think it's cool that it's a special district, and I currently work for a different municipality, and I always look back here in Thousand Oaks, and this is like recreation on steroids. City departments from other agencies, they don't have it this good with the amount of facilities and work that goes into this. So I like to put in my 2 cents there and to be the planning commission that works with the special district with the city. It's pretty cool. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lastly, Mr. V, I actually had you for 7B. Did you want to speak on 7A as well? If he's there on Zoom. Mr. Villa?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yes. Are you speaking on 7A, which is the skate park, or did you want to speak on 7B?
Which one is 7B? I don't have it in front of me.
That is for the Hendricks Avenue Park.
Oh, no, just 7A, the Borchard Skate Park.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ed Villa. I live in Newbury Park, right next to Borchard Park by the soccer field. Been there for 44 years. And I've raised 5 sons that all became skateboarders. 2 of them became professional because of areas that had skate parks in Simi and in Colorado. But to rest assured that anybody's worried about the skate parks not being monitored, most skaters of what I've seen over the last 50 years they watch the park, they take care of the park, they make sure that nobody is littering in the park, and they make sure that all the young kids that are trying to learn, they will help them learn and become good skaters. Unfortunately, in our area, we don't have a lot of recreation for some kids that would want to learn how to skate, and not much into like soccer or softball. And skating is a good outlet for these young kids. And I also want to say that the issue on the lights, I have lights from the soccer field and from the baseball fields shining at my house, but they're not an issue because I know they're there for the young people to learn how to play soccer and softball. In this case, the lights for the skateboard park is really important so that they can learn continually on even during this winter time. I do thank you for giving me a chance to speak on this. I was part of the initial committee to start building or start planning the skateboard park. I saw a lot of Colorado skateboard parks that were built the same as this one. They'll have street skating and vert skating available. And these parks are only monitored by the skaters themselves. You don't see any graffiti there, and you don't see any trash. So on the good side, this will be a good place for young people to come and learn how to skate and learn to work together as members of our community. I want to thank you again for letting me speak on this. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last comment, I believe, so let's go back to staff for any response.
Yes, thank you. There are a number of items that I'd like to respond to and also give the applicant a second to talk about the concerns about lighting that were brought up. Actually, you know what? I'll defer both questions. So two questions that I'd love some clarification on are the hours of the park, and there's some confusion about the park being closed earlier on the weekends at 6 p.m. And the impact or the way that the lights will be seen from a residential area, and I can pull up the photometric plan as well.
State my name again, or am I good? All right. Thank you, planning staff and commission. Basically, the general hours of the park district is dawn to dusk. However, we do have lit facilities that extend. This specific park is until 10. However, the skate park would be open typically from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the lights would be like we are in the early winter, late fall, would be from about 4:30, 5 o'clock up until 10 o'clock. It's very similar to how the softball fields operate, the soccer fields, as well as the tennis and basketball court and volleyball courts on the property. So as far as hours go, unless there's additional questions on that, I think that addresses that. And then specifically with the photometrics, we actually only have one pending LED project right now for high mast lights. So typically high mast lights are anything like 30 feet and above. So this is one that's obviously also pending, depending on the approval tonight. And so basically, with the light angles, it is some simple math with how those lights are. The taller the pole, the better the cutoff. We do have old technology that we will be updating in years to come throughout the park system, specifically at Borchard Community Park with the other lights. And we do have a variety of 40-foot, 50-foot, and 65-foot poles that are all throughout the park, as well as some lower mass lights that are at the tennis courts and basketball court and volleyball courts. And so it's about light angles. So the taller the light, the better downward angle we could have on the fixture. With the current technologies we have, as shown on the photometrics plans, the cutoffs are very, very intense. So you might be standing in a lit area and you would be 5 to 6 feet over and it's nearly dark. You're just seeing the residual light in the area that's being lit. We do, with the fixtures, just in the past couple years even, Musco is our supplier of these lights, and they've been working with clients throughout the country, but specifically for issues like this, to have the best cutoff possible. So we do have shrouds and shielding on the fixtures as well, and so that directs the light to where you want the light. So it would be in this room, it would be centered on the rug in the middle of the room, right? So the same thing, the use area of the skate park will be the area that gets lit, not behind it, not to the left of it, not to the right. As noted in the presentation from Justine, with the yellow section on the plan that's up, there are some residual kind of light trespass there, but if you look at the map, it's very, very low foot candles. So very, very minimal amount of foot candles. So
The map is up now for the screen.
Yeah, thank you. Similar to like parking lot, very low level parking lot lights. So it would be similar to what would be along the public right of way at a signaled intersection already. If you want any more detail, I can offer more detail on that.
Anything further from staff or the applicant for the moment? All right, so let me go to commissioners with questions for, I guess, the staff and the applicant, if there's any. Not seeing any. Just to clarify that, and it's funny, I actually played softball there, and yeah, the lights are on, but it's like you're almost standing in the dark in some places. But it sounds like these lights, and again, I think in furtherance of another comment, are going to have shields, so to speak, where it's not going to go up towards where, I guess, neighbors would be. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And that increases the lighting towards where you're looking it to go, but then the only area you're going to have a little bit of excess is on the street where the yellow is.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions we had. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all from staff?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay. I think we can close the public hearing and then open it to commissioner comments or a motion. Commissioner Link?
Thank you, Chair. I think it has been said that, and as we all have come to expect, that the recreational facilities in Thousand Oaks are top-notch, and that is thanks to Conejo Rec and Park District and the partnership that we have. I think the biggest concern voiced this evening was with regard to the lights. And as we just heard, the majority of the lights in the park right now currently aren't LED, and they are kind of the old-style halogen lights that have a tendency to spill everywhere. So part of the reason why you get that kind of light leakage is as a result of the fixture, the way they're focused, what have you. The lights that are proposed are far more directional. The lights that you see at traffic signals now are LED. They go straight down and not much else. So when we get into those dark sky ordinances, people are moving more towards the LED lights because they are directional. So I don't have a lot of concerns with that. I think that, again, this, in keeping with the top-notch facilities in Thousand Oaks, this raises the bar for skate parks and hopefully puts Thousand Oaks on the map. So I will support and make the motion that we adopt a resolution based on the findings and subject to the conditions therein to find that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, pursuant to Class 1, Section 15301, existing facilities, is determined by CRP. Do I have to say that out loud, or all of it? CRPD, we'll go with that. Lead agency for the proposed project, approve a special use permit, major modification, SUP 2024-70012, to allow the demolition of the existing 10,000 square foot skate park facility and 27 parking spaces in order to construct a new 20,000 square foot skate park facility. 4 new 50-foot high LED poles to be illuminated from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., shade structures, covered picnic area, bench, spectator seating, fencing, and security system, as well as new landscaping and hardscaping. Approve a waiver of the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code to allow an increase in the total structural height of the proposed lights from 35 to no more than 50 feet, as otherwise required by Thousand Oaks Municipal Code Section 9-4.3203. And approve a protected tree permit, PTP 2024-70110, to allow encroachment into the protected zone of 1 California sycamore tree, not going to try, located at the northeast corner of the proposed site.
You feel for our recording secretary, don't
I
you, right
do.
now?
Ms. Gore, I feel for you.
Any other commissioner comment? Commissioner McMahon?
I will support the motion. I think it will be just another thing that we in Thousand Oaks can be very proud of. I think it's a terrific project.
Thank you. For me, it's funny, next to more affordable housing, the second most asked question over the last number of years I get is, when is this new skate park going to open? Because, again, my typical thing is we're in an experience-based economy. People want a experience process, and again, this concept adds a huge different kind of experience to our city. I think it's a fantastic plan. Everything about it just says high class and is a valuable part of it. The lighting, I do understand, and I do appreciate your questions. The great thing about technology is that it does advance in a way that does give everybody kind of what they're looking for. And you will see the lighting that from what they've indicated, is going to make sure that there's very minimal impact, especially by virtue of the photograph I wanted them to put back up. That is going to really minimize that issue. I think this is a great thing for our young people. I think it's a great thing for the area, and I am totally in support of it. So with that said, recording secretary, please prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Ling?
Yes.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Commissioners Ferris and Tyler Kettlehut absent.
As this is a matter that can be appealed, I have to read the following. Any aggrieved party who wishes to appeal the Planning Commission's decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days. With that, we will then go on now to item 7B, which is the park at Hendricks Avenue. Will the recording secretary please open the public hearing?
Hearing having been advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 7B, Development Permit Minor Modification 2021-70567 DPMN and Protected Tree Permit PTP 2021-7 0523 PTP to allow the demolition of an existing approximately 7,000 square foot community center building in order to construct a new 16,653 square foot community center building, construction of new play areas, trails, trash enclosure, covered stage, amphitheater seating, and shade structures, and to renovate existing outdoor features, including the baseball fields, playgrounds, picnic areas, bridge, trails, landscaping, freestanding restroom, and parking lots, as well as the removal and replacement of 3 protected trees, the relocation of 16 protected trees, and encroachment into the protected zone of 48 protected trees, and the planting of 21 replacement protected trees within the public, quasi-public, and institutional lands and facilities PL zone, and acknowledge the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA mitigated negative declaration adopted by the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board, located at Conejo Community Park, 1175 Hendricks Avenue, assessor's parcel number APN 524-0-090-255. The applicant is the Conejo Recreation and Park District.
And I see that Ms. Kendall is back to assist us with this project as well.
Yes, good evening again. Planning commissioners and members of the public, the presentation before you is, again, as you just heard, a request to allow the demolition of an existing community center building and other renovations at Conejo Community Park located at 1175 Hendricks Road. The applicant requests that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the applications just mentioned. The project is before the Planning Commission due to a request to remove trees above a certain size. The project site is the 36.6 acre Conejo Community Park, again located at 1175 Hendricks Avenue. The property is owned and operated by Conejo Recreation and Park District, CRPD. It is zoned public, quasi-public, and institutional land and facilities, PL, and has a general planned land use designation of parks, golf courses, and open space. Surrounding uses include single-family residences to the north and east and multifamily beyond open space areas to the south and west seen here. The park is adjacent to and associated with the Conejo Botanic Gardens and Kids Adventure Garden. The park was constructed in the early 1960s and acquired by CRPD from Ventura County in 1972 following the city approval of a zoning code change. The community center is just under 7,000 square feet in total and was built in 1965 by local volunteer efforts. Currently, the area is developed as an ungated community park with walking paths, a fitness path, restrooms, a bridge over a creek, baseball field, community center building, playgrounds, picnic facilities, a lawn, amphitheater, and general open space with around 170 parking spaces. The proposed project includes new trails, enhanced existing trails, play areas, and enhanced play areas, an entry feature and passenger drop-off area, permanent amphitheater, trash and storage enclosures, shade structures, as well as the demolition of that existing 7,000 square foot community center building in order to construct a new 16,653 square foot community center building with adjacent terraced rain gardens, replacement of a freestanding restroom building, updated parking lots, baseball field upgrades, and landscaping upgrades. The current and proposed use as a community park is consistent with the city's general plan land use designation and the requirements of the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, as well as the precise plan of design guidelines, including for standards for height and lot coverage. There is no standard amount of required parking for parks and recreational facilities as allowed within the PL zone. However, as the project would not dramatically intensify the operational uses from what is currently taking place and has taken place over many years, it is not expected that the need for parking or traffic would increase significantly. The existing park includes 179 parking spaces throughout the park and will lose approximately 2 spaces with the proposed circulation improvements. Grading would occur after demolition of the community center and would involve the generation of 3,500 cubic yards of cut, 3,500 cubic yards of fill. All grading on the project site would be balanced on site, and therefore the project would not require any import or export. The existing park facility provides a variety of recreation services with over 50 programs scheduled each week, including exercise classes, community center rentals, school dances, fairs, cultural events such as concerts, as well as preschool classes. The project would accommodate the existing uses more effectively, as well as a potential increase in frequency of on-site events, such as those just mentioned. The maximum number of attendees at events at the project site is currently and estimated to continue to be something around 6,000 people for concerts, and of course fewer for other events such as weddings or other rental type occasions. The proposed community building is notched into the existing hillside so that the second floor appears as the first floor from the front entry, which you can see here on the left side of the screen. The back side of the building faces the interior of the park and will have a maximum height of approximately 30 feet. The existing community building is approximately 18 feet, and the proposed building, which you see here again on the left, the front side is also approximately 18 feet. The footprint of the existing community center is around 7,000 square feet, and the footprint of the proposed community center is essentially the same at 6,630 square feet. The building is designed to incorporate natural materials and colors with a terraced seating area facing the interior of the park to provide views of the proposed amphitheater and enhanced landscaping. In addition, 99 protected trees were surveyed on the park property. 3 of these protected trees will be removed as they have trunks directly adjacent to grading for the concrete hardscapes. And you can see those here in red at the lower right-hand corner of this image. 4 trees are also expected to have major impacts from grading for the pedestrian pathways and hardscapes, and 44 trees are expected to have minor impacts, while 32 trees are expected to have no impacts at all and be protected in place. 21 trees will be planted as replacement trees, which is more than the required amount. The city's tree consultant has inspected the subject protected trees and independently reviewed the tree report provided by the applicant's consultant, and concurs that the tree impacts are necessary to allow the site preparation and grading activities for the proposed site improvements. Specifically, the tree removals are necessary to allow site preparation and grading activities for the proposed parking lot reconfiguration, which allows the parking lot to meet current standards for both ADA access and emergency vehicle circulation, as well as improve traffic flow in the general area. To compensate for these impacts, again, CRPD will replace removed as well as majorly impacted oak and landmark trees at a ratio of 3:1 with 36-inch box trees of the same species, which again exceeds the requirements of the oak tree preservation and protection guidelines. In addition, CRPD proposes to monitor the relocated trees and replace any which fail to thrive within 2 calendar years. The Conejo Recreation and Park District is the lead agency for environmental review purposes, since it is the agency which plans to carry out the project. As the lead agency, the district has prepared the mitigated negative declaration for the project, which was adopted by the CRPD Board of Directors on June 17th, 2021. A letter confirming the continuing validity of the M&D was provided to the city this May. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA guidelines, the city is defined as a responsible agency for this project, which means that it has permit authority over the project and that the city must review and consider the mitigated negative declaration prepared by the district in making its decision, but is not required to approve it. It is staff's recommendation to adopt a resolution approving the requested project. I, as well as other city staff, are available for questions and clarification.
Thank you very much. Questions from commissioners? Not seeing any. Let's go to the applicant. We'll have 15 minutes. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
Andrew Mooney, Camarillo, California. I am the the director of Parks and Planning with Conejo Recreation Park District. So the district understands that this park property very special to the community, and it's very special to staff who maintain it, who program it every day, and provide to the community that we serve. So the work that we're proposing tonight is not not taken lightly. You know, we worked on this project for many years. We had about a year or so of working through with staff as well as our stakeholders on the property, and we had very robust community outreach that we did. So we had about 2.5 years of meetings. We had about 4 rounds of in-person meetings. We had a little delay with COVID, again, just because we were starting this project up right before the pandemic started. And we carried on and then continued through into 2021. But we did a very similar process of, a 1,000-foot mailer. We put advertisements in the Acorn newspaper. We put signs out on the property. We put signs out on other park facility properties to get the input from the community, the folks that use this park site, right? And so from these multiple rounds, which we also included a survey to just kind of get a snapshot of interest of, hey, this park has served the community for over 60 years. What do you want for the next 60 years, community? And so from the outreach that we received, again, in person, some Zoom meetings, as well as the survey, 4 guiding principles were developed. One of which is maintain the sense of place. This is a very special park site. The neighboring community and the expanded community looks at this as their extension of their yard. This is the coolest yard, the coolest house on the block. That's what we heard time and time again when we had conversations with our neighbors and the users of the park site, as well as maintain the topography, maintain the natural features of the park. And so we took that challenge to heart. We know there's a large canopy of oaks as well as sycamores on the property. So with any development project, it is definitely a balance with that. But then additionally, from a programming standpoint, they said, we love what we do here, but we want to continue to do things and do a bit more there. And so build upon existing successes of programming and expand and enhance what they can do at their park site, what the community can do at Conejo Community Park. And then comes to the bigger portion of the project scope is replacing the center building. So some folks say, well, why are you doubling or over doubling the size of this building? Well, that's based on the feedback we received from the community. That's based on all of those other guiding principles is why we laid out the building. Myself, as a maintainer of facilities, I don't necessarily want to deal with an elevator. I really don't want to deal with multiple staircases from a liability, maintenance, and all that. But to be able to work with the site constraints that we have and to be able to provide what has been provided to you tonight, the district is very satisfied. We've been really happy working with the community and getting to where we are tonight for this project. And really, we want to make sure we honor the park, and that's why we're looking at doing this kind of split level, 2-level property. Typically, our community centers are a bit more sprawling. They typically have a gymnasium. This is definitely a unique park site for the district. It's a special park site for the community. And then also keeping to scale. So as reviewed, with the split level, the goal was to be able to mitigate the size of the building by shifting it in. I believe it's about 75 to 100 feet further into the park site itself, away from our neighbors, as well as utilizing an existing slope to mitigate the height of the building. So you won't notice that it's a 2-story building until you really get into the park site, until you take a walk into the park site. But then also working with staff that work there every day, it kind of has an identity crisis. The building, you walk in the back door and you'll walk into a multi-purpose room. There's no hallway, there's nothing, right? This was built in the 60s, so it wasn't planned the way that we plan buildings today. And so the intent was to be able to provide 2 levels that can get you to the front door properly. And that's with ramps, that's with staircases, elevator as needed, or just go park up front, and we lay out the parking lot in a manner where it's a little bit more welcoming. You understand where the front door is versus walking in the back door and you're the clumsy staff member walking into a jazzercise class and you're walking in the back door because you thought it was the front door when you first started with the district. So, but again, we went through very robust community outreach. We held multiple CRPD board meetings that we advertised to the folks that have been interested through this whole process. So step by step, as we awarded the contract, as we took with our architectural team plans to the board to say, is this the direction we want to go? Over 4 times we did that, as well as taking it for the approval of the mitigated negative declaration, which is a balance, again, of development, but then also being able to provide for the growing community that we have. So Conejo Community Park is definitely a unique park site, as I mentioned, which means it has unique users. I mentioned like jazzercise, we have fencing there, we have table tennis. We do have one ball field, so Conejo Valley Little League does use that ball field. In conversations with them, the intent would be to move out a fence so they can have their certain level of game there, because right now it's constrained by the size of the ball field. So being able to utilize this for other folks. General public uses it on a daily basis. The CRPD outdoor unit uses this as their home base, as their offices. They run programs out of here. Conejo Valley Botanic Garden is a community partner for 50+ years with the district, and we continue to help support what they do to provide the garden for the community. And we feel that the improvements that we're providing as part of this project will do that. As well as Safe Passage, summer camps, and then the community concerts. So that's probably the most popular, where people know what Conejo Community is because the great concerts that we've been putting on for years and years there. But basically 50+ weekly programs happen at this park site, and we want to continue to provide that and then some based on the needs and interest of the community. So really the main objective of this project for the district is to keep everything that's great, but just enhance it, make it better, make it more accessible, make it proper so more people can enjoy the park site itself. So one thing too, I'm not going to go into boring everyone about the master plan and how we work in population and how this serves the community, but Conejo Community Park is a community park, so it is a higher level park. Typically that type of park within our master plan definition has a community center building. But it also serves as a playfield, which is a little bit lower level park, as well as a neighborhood park. So we understand that the day-to-day use might be a neighborhood park, and then there are some highlight times of the year, like the 5 concerts, or summer camps, or Saturday nights that people are using the community center. However, it does serve currently 30,000 people. So there's a lot of people per our master plan that this serves. So that's a good chunk of what the community is. However, the community is growing and changing. With the new general plan being approved, we do have more opportunity for housing to be in this area and part of town. So we are looking at, similar to what Director Nichols said for CRPD earlier, is a balance of, hey, what park sites do we have, and how can we make sure we maximize the benefit to the community with what we have? And in this case, we're literally doing exactly that. We're building on top of an existing community center to be able to provide the square footage that the community told us and that we heard them say that they needed and wanted at their community park. And also, it does serve a disadvantaged community within Thousand Oaks. We do have a very affluent, typical community, but there are disadvantaged folks within this planning zone of the district that this park site specifically serves, which is very important. And then in times of need, it does serve as a cooling center currently. If we wanted to in the future, if this gets approved and we move forward with the project, it would be, it could serve as a shelter because, again, expanded capacity. We would make sure that we could either hook it up to generators or have other means and such to be able to provide for the community in time of need. Unfortunately, we've experienced that locally in the past couple weeks, as well as a few years ago. But the goal really is to be able to kind of have that balance of what we can provide now, but then also for the growing future of our community. And really just to kind of highlight with the project description, if you look at the map that's on the screen, really the larger impact items are what are shown in white. So at the bottom right corner of the map, you see the larger white massing of the building. That would be the building. Adjacent to that is the existing building footprint. And so we're really just sliding that building over so it's more internal to the site, as well as if you go directly to the kind of the center towards the ball field, you see a small triangular form. That is the stage. So we would be looking at doing a permanent shade structure with the stage, a structure there, so we wouldn't have to bring our mobile trailer in. for it, but then again, it's opportunity for other things for the community to utilize on a daily basis. As well as we are looking at replacing a restroom structure on the far west side off the Janine Drive area, and then adding some trash enclosures, some material storage, and just paving improvements throughout our parking lot. And then I know city planning staff talked about some of the playground work that we were looking at doing. We're also looking at adding shade structures and just more communal space for the community to use and benefit. And then just from a scheduling standpoint, the entire construction of this project could take 12 to 18 months. However, you need the money to do it. So estimated currently is about $20 million if we were to execute this whole project at one time. The district, we currently do have funding for a phase one. So we are looking at doing, again, in the west parking lot, doing a refurbishment of the existing parking lot paving, knocking down the existing restroom, adding a new restroom with some staff storage area, as well as a trash enclosure and material storage. We would be looking at doing some accessibility improvements with the walkways and adding one shade structure, kind of as this phase one. And so that currently is funded with our budget. This would be the first step in doing that, so getting this approval tonight, and then we would proceed similar to skate park with building permits to proceed there. Phase two and beyond, I don't know. You know, $20 million is a lot of money, especially for a smaller agency like ourselves. We definitely have partners with the city and the county, and then also we do have staff that's been working on grants over time, so we feel that we could have some successful opportunities coming up here in the future for it. But really the goal is to plan ahead and to be able to provide this facility for the community and the growth of this community. So again, the site has served this community really well for 60 years. My job is to make sure that the site serves the community for the next 60 years. So that is why the district is proposing this project here tonight. So thank you very much, and I'm available for questions.
All right, well, thank you. So hold on a second, since it's both of you tandem here, I guess, in some sense. Commissioner, questions for staff or the applicant? Commissioner Link?
No, I just have an anecdote. I actually got stung by a bee at this park, but I'm not going to hold that against you.
Thank you.
Hopefully not the African guy. Commissioner McMahon?
I just want to report to the public that I did go on site and I did talk to Mr. Mooney and his associates, and he did answer a lot of my questions, and I got a good feel for it.
So I just have a few, and really kind of looking at the two communications. I know there are people here tonight, and we'll go through some of those issues when they come up, but the communications that were in the staff report, I kind of wanted to address. One talked about weed abatement on neighboring property. Again, that's not CRPD property. I don't know specifically what they're referring to, but are you familiar with any kind of issue with regard to overgrown weeds on neighboring property? And
So that is an issue that we address throughout the whole district and the city. We work very closely with Public Works as well as Costco staff and the fire department. So that's something that I did see that email and to address it. That was a few years back. But I know that we are current, and I am currently unaware of any fire issues that we have on any of our properties.
And that leads me to my second comment or question is that it's reference to a lot of the materials in the supplement with regard to expanding the ability for an evacuation center. And since we had a fire not too far away from us a few weeks ago, exactly what would that entail and again, is the current facility not able to be an effective evacuation center?
So it is to a point, right? So it is about 7,000 square feet. It is our second smallest center currently. And so we do have two 14,000 square foot centers. We do have joint agency centers such as the adult center and the teen center, as well as we do have Borchard Community Center, which is almost 20,000. So there are strategically other centers that might be able to serve better because of size. But however, just any public facility, the soccer fields turn into fire camp, right? So we have to provide our facilities to make sure that we can protect and provide for our community in other ways. So the goal really would be to be able to utilize, just like we use at all of our centers, this in such a fashion because of the expanded capacity of the building.
And based upon what you're saying, the community sizes, would this be the local closest place for 30,000 people to use as an evacuation center in the event of a close-by fire?
If needed. Obviously, we have a lot of rolling hills and we have a lot of open space like the ball field and such. So as needed, just like our other facilities, yes, it could be used for that.
And then lastly, you kind of mentioned, obviously, it's a lot of money to kind of deal with. So are you looking at a staged process in terms of the implementation?
Correct. Currently, we're looking at the deficiencies that need to be handled and the improvements that we want to get ahead of, such as the restroom and then also meeting current, trash receptacle code and things like that, opportunity to be able to make improvements on the park site. And then phase 2 could be just taking bites out of it. We could be, phase 3, 4, depending on when finances come into play.
I'm going to ask the obvious bizarre question, but I mean, are you confident that, have you gotten estimates for those things, that all of a sudden it's not going to end up being something where you're going to find out there's foundational issues or grading problems, or so you feel pretty confident with regard to that?
We're very confident in we did already soil borings and all that more technical kind of pre-construction, pre-design stuff before we got this far down the road. Yep.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions from commissioners? All right, I think that would be it for me at the moment. So let's go to comments. I think we have 11 speakers, which will mean 3 minutes per speaker. First, we'll have Doug Nichols, followed by Tim Hagel. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doug Nichols with City of Thousand Oaks on the board with the Canal-Reckon Park District. This is an exciting step that we're taking here tonight. This, as you see, sort of some of the dates, we've been at this for a long, long time. It's taken us a while to get here. A lot of outreach meetings, a lot of design meetings. We've gone through a lot of this. I know there are some challenges that we're faced still, financial and otherwise, but we're looking forward to making this happen. Part of the effort, as I mentioned before, is as our community continues to grow, and recently the city's gone through a general plan revision, anticipating there's going to be some additional residents in the near future, maybe the far future. We're trying to go along with that plan too in addressing our facilities. How do we now accommodate that additional growth? So we're trying to upgrade where we can. This is one of those properties. I didn't hear Andrew mention it, but the foundation kind of slopes in this building. It's that point where it's like, the termites are holding hands to keep it together. So we know it needs to be repaired, and it's not just a repair, but it's a demolition. And so to that fact, trying to address the needs, but also the beauty. I've heard many, many times, I get the opportunity to speak with the bands that are there at our concert. They're seeing the park for the first time, and I thank them for coming, and they say, oh my gosh, this is like the most beautiful venue we've ever been to. This is the best. And it is. I think our community recognizes it as well. I've heard many people say that this is their favorite park, and they think it's the most beautiful park in the community. And we want to keep it that way, but we also need to make it usable. And so we're trying to replenish that structure so we can make it suitable for our current needs, but also within the site that we do have there. I know there's some impacts to some of the trees, but you can see we've got a lot of trees there. We're trying to make it even more beautiful, so we're going to do the best. The other thing I might add is, I spent a career in a municipal government reviewing plans for development. And when I walk into this building, I look around and go, who designed this building? I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, this just doesn't seem to work. So that's the other part of it too. The programming staff has done a wonderful job in just maximizing what we have there. And a lot of people have wonderful memories there. Now they were preschoolers, and now they're bringing their preschoolers to classes there. They just love the place. And so we want to keep it that way. We want to make it better. So appreciate your support and working with the Park District. And we look forward to it. We don't know quite when, but we know it's going to be out there somewhere. We're going to make it just a beautiful facility. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Tim Hagel, followed by Mary O'Sullivan.
Thank you. Tim Hagel, unincorporated area. Mr. Nichols mentioned the different programs going on there, including the preschool, which is still in the same 10-foot by 10-foot room that I went to preschool at Dover and Hendricks Park. October 21st, we just held our 60th reunion for the neighborhood. Everybody came from all over the country for the reunion of Dover and Hendricks Park from multiple states. I lived 8 houses away for 18 years from the park. My family still lives there in the neighborhood. I'm at the park mostly every Friday because we walk 50 to 90 kids in safe passage over to the park from Acacia School, where they have activities. These are kids that do not have backyards. They're not fortunate enough to have backyards, but they live in the community within walking distance of the park. So that's the dichotomy going on in the Shadow Oaks neighborhood right there. 2 houses away, they're 1.3 million. 1,000 yards away, it's $4,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment for these kids. So the park means a lot to me. I was listening to Andrew talk about the different activities there. I'm like, yeah, I took fencing lessons there in 1970. Yep, I got all my Boy Scout badges in that room, and I can remember my dad saying to all of the boys in the family, there's not enough room here in the park. Working so much intensively with kids every week in the park right there, I'm more interested on the law enforcement side of it, and actually the ADA side. We have kids that are disabled that come into the park. So while it might be a little bit of a problem having elevators and such there, that's exciting for us to have a safe room for the preschools that go on there every day. The footprint is amazing. We've gone out and toured it. I'm a huge, fan of the trees. I'm not worried about that. The park does a great job on that. I mean, this is the city's arboretum is 100 yards away. So I have faith that there's going to be a lot of people overlooking the park district as they replace the trees right in there. And most importantly, providing the services for the most underserved kids of the Conejo Valley. I'm biased, of course, having my family right there. It's the nicest park in the Conejo Valley. I'm sorry to everybody else, but it is. So I'm really excited to see this happen. Thank you.
I actually have a question before you leave. Based on your knowledge, experience, and training, do you think the proposed additions would increase chances of more homelessness in the area, more homeless people coming in and being in the park?
No, absolutely the opposite effect of that. I believe that this park right here, I don't know the classifications he talked about, but community, it sounds like neighborhood. And this is a hybrid because it's a neighborhood. When you go interview the people in those 500 homes in that track right around there, he hit it head on. And you talk to my nephew that lives right there, it's their backyard. So yes, you have a staff of 5 people, 16 hours a day at that park, plus the maintenance staff. But you have the staff of everybody at Little League, and you have the staff of 500 plus families that believe that park is their backyard. So I have no concerns whatsoever with the homelessness in that area.
Thank you. If anybody else, any questions of, thank you. Next, we have Mary Osavolen, if I'm hopefully not getting that too bad, and followed by Liam Joyce.
Hi there, I'm Mary O'Sullivan. I live in Thousand Oaks. I'm relatively a new resident, only being here for 7 years. So for me, this was a new development to hear about this. So I did a post when I saw the notice. And it's on Nextdoor, and we can actually enter this into the record if possible, but I'm Mary O'Meh on Nextdoor. And I did very neutral. I posted literally out of what is in the notice. I got 85 responses. Only 1 might have been in favor. So I do think that there needs to be more community outreach in maybe another way. I don't know how things are done here, votes or whatever. Seems to me some of the concerns are that weren't really mentioned here. As I understand, there'll be a permanent stage and amphitheater seating, and that maybe the CRPD can address that. If that's going to be in the grassy area. The other thing is shade structures. Why do we need those when there's 98 trees? And replacing 300-year-old sycamores with saplings. It's not going to be your children, their children, possibly the next children. So I do agree that this is the most unique park and very special. And I have no idea what the needs are for park services. It sounds like it's definitely needed. But it seems to me we should preserve this park for the next generations and as our legacy, and find another spot to put a great community center or a music venue. If you haven't been to this park, it's bucolic rolling grass with 100-year-old oaks and sycamores. Why do we need music venues there in a big way? Or why do we need huge buildings for activities? There's plenty of shopping malls, stores needing to be revitalized now. So I think we really should reconsider this. I do think that this major development will interrupt and reduce natural views. Unobstructed natural views increase health, cholesterol, blood pressure, it makes those right. It increases neighborliness, relaxation, stress, and property values. So I don't live right there. Poets have long praised nature, from William Wordsworth's Splendor in the Grass, and there's plenty of it there, to John Muir, who foretold the destruction of nature unless there is an awakening of public opinion to stop it. And that's why I'm here today. I see children running in the grass. I see families. I'm not part of that scene myself, but that is, are we done?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
Thank you. Liam Joyce, followed by Andrew Dalea.
Thank you to everyone in the city. Liam Joyce, live in Thousand Oaks, less than you, only 5 years. I'm about 50 yards from the park, and I appreciate all the great ideas Mr. Mooney talked about. My neighbor Dan and I met with him a few years ago. Sharon, we saw the posters in the park. Few things that Mr. Mooney said was sense of place. It's a great place the way it is. Natural setting. Then we should leave it the way it is. Do a bit more. 7,000 square feet to 16,000 square feet. And I don't follow next door, but I think $20 million to change a park is not going to be a small-scale project. It's not keeping anything to scale. If any of you have read the book Anxious Generation about children playing and needing to be outdoors more, off the internet, off their cell phones, it's got a great play structure there. None of us grew up with a play structure as nice as the one that's there at Dover Park. We had the things that spun around, and we fell, and we got a bump. We went on swings without a seatbelt, and we jumped off, and that. So if you haven't read Anxious Generation, please do that. With all due respect, we did attend a public hearing, I did, via Zoom, then met with some of the staff, and I asked a question then, what will happen with the increased traffic? The response from the Parks Department, oh, that's not our issue, you need to talk to traffic. Come on. That should be something that should be handled by the departments in the city. When the building is completed, if it was, we have very serious concerns about the increased traffic, noise, crowds, potential other nuisances. Great, it's a wedding venue. So every Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, the music in the park on the Sundays is marvelous. Will the city increase police presence at the park? Will Dover and Hendricks have a four-way sign? How is this huge 16,000 square foot project going to affect property taxes, draw on TO's resources? My wife and I would greatly and seriously request this project not go forward and the resources and funds be allocated to other greater needs. I'm really impressed that someone can say, I'm 100% sure this will not increase homelessness. There's nowhere in LA, Ventura County, that someone can say that. There is no 100% assurance of that. Death and taxes, we've all heard that. Sounds like taxes are going to happen. So thank you very much, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. I totally understand the desire to support people, but we have people that may be on both sides, so please try not to clap or boo anybody, so we can have everybody gets a chance to say what they want to say without feeling, put upon. Next, we have Andrew Dalea, followed by Dan Kahn.
Hello there. Andrew Dalea, Thousand Oaks.
My apologies.
So this is the first that I've heard of this today. And thank you for your next door post. I saw that. Thank you. And what I saw was concerning because the park is someplace that we cherish. I've lived in Thousand Oaks all my life and been a neighbor or a member of this community for the last 4 years. And I walk to that park every day with my dogs, and I hope one day to go there with my future family. And it's concerning to hear that people are talking about a much larger building being put there and then saying that there isn't going to be increased traffic. It's a quiet area, and I think we like it quiet. We like it as this special little area of ours. And when you put a bigger facility there, there's going to be a lot more people coming to it, but there's not really a lot of roads to get there. So they're going to be driving through the community, and that's going to be not fantastic for kids that are playing in the street. You know, that's going to cause some issues, and there will be additional noise. There will be additional disturbances, you know, to the neighborhood. You know, we'll have more concerts. That's great that we have 5 concerts a year, but if we're having a concert every weekend, then, you know, we can hear it in our backyards. It's in our backyards. And it's, you know, going to be a difference to the character of the community. And I think that's something that we want to maintain, the nature of the community that we joined. There was a comment about homelessness, and I've seen homelessness in that park. It exists. Will it get worse if there's more facilities there? I don't know. And that's something that should be already being addressed. Maintaining the topography of the park. We have trees that are hundreds of years old there. And yes, it doesn't appeal to me either to lose those trees. We shouldn't be trying to make this one park a solution for everything. I think, you know, we hear that people were reached out to, that there were surveys done. I didn't hear anything. And I would like to have some input. And I feel like there needs to be more things done, to more discovery before we move forward with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dan Kahn, followed by Sue Bork. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
Dan Kahn, Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you for having me. I'm going to talk fast because I have 3 minutes. I will start off by saying, first and foremost, we do appreciate the CRPD. My wife and I and our 3 children participate in the CRPD programs on a regular basis, and I think we are lucky in the city of Thousand Oaks to have such a great Parks and Rec department. That said, I have a few issues I wanted to address. First and foremost, we live, like Mr. Joyce, just a few yards away from the park. I firmly believe this is answering a question nobody has been asking other than CRPD. You know, I am in that park daily. My kids and I are in that park at least 3 times a week. We participate in programs in that park on a very regular basis. And Mr. Nichols asked the question, who designed this current structure? Well, the answer to that question is the community did. In 1965, when volunteers built it with the specific intent to blend in both with the natural sightline of the park and the community surrounding it. That's why it looks just like all the houses in the area surrounding it. A new 2-story glass, steel, and concrete structure will not do that. It will change the topography and the sightline of the park. My second point that I wanted to address is this concrete structure that's been laid out in regards to the concerts. I like the concerts. We enjoy the concerts. That's 5 days a year. 360 days a year, the other 360, I would much rather have rolling green hills and natural greenscape. And my point is, we moved here from LA County. My wife grew up 2 blocks from the park. We moved specifically to this house because we wanted to enjoy what Thousand Oaks has offered this community for decades. We like the open space. We like the green space. My wife, Sheridan, is a landscape designer that I think some people here know. and she specifically designed our home to reflect the park across the street. We like having green open space. So to go in, remove trees, add giant concrete structures, add multi-story buildings, the community is not asking for that. In the last 45 seconds, I wanted to address Mr. Mooney's comment that there's been all this notification of the community. That is not correct. I participated in both Zoom calls that happened during the pandemic. The neighborhood in those Zoom calls the community was not for this. We then asked for face-to-face meeting. We expressed at that point we were not for this. Since then, as from I can tell, the sign that sat directly across my street for 3 years had all the fields filled in with TBD. There was no information given until about a week ago when that sign changed to suddenly announce this meeting, this date, this time. So I'm glad I can be here tonight. I missed a work meeting for it, but we in the community do not feel like we were properly informed about this, and we do not support it. And I humbly ask you to please do not approve this plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Sue Bork, followed by Eileen Mahalaski. I'm so sorry if I'm doing a horrible job of your name. Just please accept my apology.
Hi, my name is Sue Borick, and I live 2 blocks from the park. And like Mary and Andrew and some of the other people, we did not get notified like everyone that said about these meetings. I did get a piece of paper a couple of years ago, probably before the pandemic, and then nothing again. The big sign, we notified that it was coming, so we came. I also heard from next door. That was how we found out about this meeting. We moved to Thousand Oaks, to this neighborhood, like the other people, because of the green space. We liked it because it was small. We want to keep it small. We don't want a 2-story, concrete terraced structure. 5 concerts a year for an amphitheater. I don't think you need that. We don't want that. We never voted for that. We ask that you think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Eileen, followed by Natalie Thompson. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
My name is Eileen Mahalski. I live on Dover Avenue. I raised my 5 children on Dover Avenue in that house, walking to the park. I now do the same with my grandchildren. We attended activities and classes at that park. We attend the concerts in the park, and everybody loves the natural amphitheater that park contains, where you bring your chairs and your blankets and the kids run around and play. I don't think we need more concrete. We don't need a built-in stage. It's worked beautifully the way it is, and like everybody else has just said, I knew nothing about it, and I live on Dover, except for the 2 signs that have been up for a few years that had no dates. And thanks to Nextdoor, I did find out about this meeting, and I appreciate what everyone else has said. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Thompson, followed by Lori Camille.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Thompson. I'm from Thousand Oaks. And I just had a couple of comments here on this. Like some others here, I didn't hear about this project until more recently. So, with doing some digging and doing some research into the environmental documentation that's been prepared, I had a few concerns, primarily with events that can accommodate up to 6,000 people. As stated in the document, I'm concerned about operational impacts, traffic, noise. There's a lot of residents across the street or within several hundred feet of the park itself, which is, as we all know who live there, very quiet. We have our 5 concerts during the summer, and that's kind of perfect. Due to the nature and really the scope of this project, I would just like to know, if the project does move forward, how it would be phased in a way that would minimize impacts to noise and to air quality, dust concerns and also, you know, allowing continued use of this space. I know there's only funding for phase 1 right now, but that's something just that I'm thinking of looking ahead, you know, with noise that can go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with big construction equipment. That would be something that is a concern of mine. So I just want to voice those questions and concerns. And I guess lastly, I did have a question about some of the biological impacts, and I was just curious if the lake and stream bed alteration agreement had been issued by CDFW yet, and that is my final question.
Thank you. Next, Lori Camille, and then we'll go to the 2 on Zoom, which is, first will be Stephanie Schur. Again, please state your name and city of residence.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lori Camille. I live in Thousand Oaks on the Westlake Village border. And I am not in walking distance of this park, but I really enjoy driving a couple times a month at least to visit this park. It's serene, the Botanic Garden is there, Tarantula Hill is across the street, and it is a really special, unique asset to our community. When I saw the sign explaining the expansion of the rec center, it was a little bit of a gut punch because it's such a big difference to go from 7,000 square feet to over double its size. So I reached out to Mr. Andrew Mooney, and I actually went to CRPD today, met in the office, saw the renderings, and Andrew did a wonderful job at explaining the reasons and the upgrades that are needed. And I think that there are upgrades that are needed to the building. I think what I'm hearing from the community is that there's concern about the scope of the project, but there are definitely wonderful updates that are happening that are being presented to the community through this upgrade. And also, it's not just the building itself, but there are also other assets that are being upgraded, such as walking paths and connecting Tarantula Hill to the park itself. So I think that where I stand on this is that maybe perhaps there needs to be some modifications to the project that can better serve the neighbors that are going to be directly impacted, and also to meet CRPD's need for expansion and improvements to the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to our first Zoom, which is Stephanie Schur, followed by Anna Rebegi. Stephanie, you there?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Fantastic, thank you. I am from Thousand Oaks. I love Thousand Oaks. I was born at Los Robles, and I basically looked in our backyard is into the park. And I have cherished that park ever since I could walk. I went to the community center. It's fantastic. Yes, it does need some update. And hopefully we can update it to a certain degree within, its current footprint. But to remove all of the trees and to put up shade structures to provide shade when our beautiful trees are already there, I think that would be a big mistake. I know for a fact that many people, as some of these other folks have said, were not notified. They didn't know that this was happening. And thank you, Mary, for posting that so that we could Zoom in or come in person and talk about this, because it's extremely important. On a daily basis, I have seen homeless people in the park. Granted, are they there every single day? No, but then maybe they are. Maybe I just don't, I don't speak it out and try to go find it, but it is a problem. And I know that my parents have had crazy people, unfortunately, and I hate to say that, but people who were not mentally stable, pounding on the door, trying to get in, and then trying to use the doorknob. And I think that if we end up increasing the size of this community center, it could bring in more of that type of individual. And they need help too. I'm not saying that that's not what I want, but I think that we need to think about the folks who are residents in this neighborhood. First and foremost, what is it going to do to home values? What is it going to do to traffic? I mean, the traffic situation, if people are going to be having weddings at this facility, it's going to be insane. And I believe, I also agree with those, is there going to be increased police activity to ensure that the homeowners in the surrounding area are safe, and those people who are in the park, as well as, let's see, I had one other point and I have to remember.
You got
what
about
it was.
15 seconds.
Perfect, I will use it. So essentially, I would really appreciate it if we did not move forward with this at this time. I think that there needs to be more research and development. And I think that, you know, it's not necessarily an Acorn Acres where it's not in the middle of a residential area.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And last, Anna Rabigi, if you're there. Anna, can you hear me? I always feel like the Verizon guy. Can you hear me now? Anna? Waiting to see if somebody from our technical support is going to tell me she's either not there or there. I'm getting nobody staring at me.
Anna, please unmute yourself.
That would help. Anna going once. Okay, unfortunately, I think we're not able to connect with her, so we'll, I guess, close that part of the process. I think we have no more speakers, I believe. Okay, I'm getting a no. So at this point, we'll go back to staff to respond to the comments.
Yes, thank you. I would like to address a couple items and clarify a few things. One is, again, just restating that the building is 2 stories, but it's a kind of split-level stepped design. So one, the front, what would be the front door, appears as 1 story. I am so sorry that is so dark. Let me try to find a better view. You can see here how the building is stepped in some way. And so the front of the building would appear still, as it does now, as around 18 feet. So would not dramatically, although the building is sited, oriented differently, it would appear to be roughly the same height from that front parking area. In addition, there's been some concern about the amount of paving taking place. I want to clarify that the existing parking lots are largely remaining the same. The parking lot in front of the proposed community center is the only one that is going to change size. It's being reconfigured again to accommodate ADA access, emergency vehicles, and traffic flow to improve traffic flow from the current condition. Otherwise, the only real increase in impervious surface is that amphitheater area, which you can see here in the middle, that kind of white triangle by the creek. That's the amphitheater area. I think there's maybe has been some confusion about there also being concrete seating, and that is the steps going up to the community center building is where that seating would be, so there's not additional seating outside of that area. The trees to be removed are located in the parking lot. They're in a current landscape planter area. I can't speak to when those were planted, but it's they're in a highly disturbed area that was disturbed with the construction of the park. And again, these trees will be replaced much more so than is currently required by code. In addition, The noticing has taken place per city standards and regulations, although CRPD does, as Andrew mentioned, more public engagement than is typically required of an applicant. The signs of the park have been up since roughly 2022. They have been updated several months ago with my personal contact information, and I have received many comments before this evening, of course, but noticing did take place properly. And Andrew can speak again to their efforts more recently with noticing of this hearing that they do themselves, which again is not required normally of an applicant. The stream bed agreement is not currently in place. The applicant can speak to that more as necessary, but it is required. CDFW is aware of this project. They did comment on the MND, and we'll be looking forward to reviewing that application. And Public Works is here to discuss traffic if needed, if there's any more specific questions about that.
Let's suspend that. I'm going to be my radio DJ now and go back to a caller because Anna is back on the line and we actually have another public comment. So at this point, let's go back to Anna. Can you hear us? And if you do, you have 3 minutes. Anna, unmute yourself. Anna, one more time. All right, I had a secondary caller that we'll go to instead, Paulette Oatleaf. Paulette,
Yes.
are you?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Paulette Eklof. Oakleaf is what my last name means in Swedish, so there you have it. I've been a resident of Thousand Oaks since, I don't know, let's say 2009, went to San Francisco and then came back again because of the beauty of this park. Actually, this particular park, and I've hiked over miles and miles of the beautiful terrain here, but this particular park has such a special place in my heart because it's open. It was open to see. You had an open view, and I've attended so many of the concerts there. They're wonderful. But to put up a situation where it's going to be too big for the area. I mean, why not use some of the soccer field area? Why not, put the permanent stage venue somewhere else? But to do it here in a place that's just rolling hills and seeing the children play in the playground that exists adjacent to the Botanic Gardens, I mean, it's just such a beautiful feel right now. So I had to just speak up because it's a shame. I know we've already, made some decisions on some other major developments unrelated to parks that are, destroying the city, to be honest. And somebody made a comment to me once, oh, it's 1,000 Oaks. Now it's going to be 1 oak, 1,000 Oaks. It's like, we really need to look at the priorities of what 1,000 Oaks was built on. The rolling hills of wondrous oaks and sycamores. So yeah, I just want to put in my 2 cents really quick here. And yeah, also, yes, I do remember seeing an update. There was like a QR code you could scan at the park for quite some time. Since then, nothing. So thanks to Mary for putting that up and getting people involved because it does make a difference. That's why a lot of people live here. I think there's a lot of other places that we can put this new venue situation to and keep it down to the 5 free concerts, wonderful. But putting up a big structure right in the middle of a neighborhood like that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. But thank you so much. And I really do appreciate what you guys did along the bike path. Todd Ross, he has the llamas and all that wonderful. What you guys did over in that little area is perfect. But let's not overdo it with Conejo Community Park, please.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. I'll try one last time. Anna, are you there? I'm guessing no. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go back to the staff response. I didn't know if you wanted Public Works to say anything or just available for questions.
Just that they're available for questions. I would like to mention that the CRPD is required per condition of approval to put in a crosswalk in this area, as well as a new sidewalk along Gainsborough to help address some of the traffic concerns as well. And I did want to also speak to the concerns about noise, which was addressed in the mitigated negative declaration. Again, that is CRPD's document, not the city's, but it does discuss that construction noise impacts are short-term impacts, and that because the programming in the community center would occur indoors, and the events that are already occurring would continue to occur as is, just in a more permanent space, that the noise impacts from an operational perspective would not increase significantly from what is experienced today.
Okay, and the applicant will have rebuttal time, but I wanted to kind of see if there's any questions specifically for staff from commissioners. I'm getting nods. I did have a few questions. You showed two schematics that I was hoping you could go back to. One was with regard to the structure and addressing the 1-2-story aspect of it. And I wanted to kind of see if you could give us, or at least me, a approximation of where the current building is and how it lines up with what the schematic is showing of what the new building is going to be from what ground level is, so to speak. I'm a visual person.
So in terms of layout, hold on, let me get my little pointer. Aha. Okay, you see that little laser?
That wasn't the schematic, but go ahead.
Yes. So you asked about the location of the new park,
Right.
compared to the existing. So this is the existing community center building, and then the new one is going to be to the west, just because this is a little bit clearer in terms of being zoomed in. In this image, so the existing community center is here, and the footprints of the building do overlap slightly. So this corner of this building overlap the existing.
Okay.
And then you also want to see the elevation.
Yes, because you're saying that it looks single story from, I'm assuming, the parking lot.
Right. So this is the front. And so it appears as a single story as opposed to the back, which is clearly 2 stories. And the building is stepped, so
That's
you
the
can
one.
see here that the front of the building is going to be look like 1 story, and then it's going to be split. So the back is where it's 2, and that is the part. This back area is the part facing the proposed amphitheater.
So the parking lot would be off on the right-hand side from this picture.
Yes.
Okay. The next one was the trees, and I wanted to identify that schematic specifically as to the 3 removals and what the location was.
Yeah, so here you can see the 3 trees to be removed are in a parking lot planter here where these little red circles are, and located in front of the building, and they need to be removed per the plan to accommodate this improvement in the circulation area of the existing parking lot. This parking lot exists, but it is being expanded slightly. And with the grading required for the new community building, these trees would not be able to be protected in place properly.
Okay, so those 3 are all in the parking lot.
Yes, and the trees to be relocated are in purple here. I know there's been some concern about those trees as well. And again, they are being relocated. They're smaller trees and expected per the arborist report and the city consultant, expected to do well when placed in a new area with irrigation. They are being moved to accommodate, again, the improved parking lot.
And the, okay, and otherwise, well, I'll get to that later. All right, so that's the questions I had. Any other questions from commissioners? All right, so let's go back to the applicant for rebuttal. I believe you have 5 minutes.
So thank you. Just to kind of, I got a handful of bullet points here, just to address the amount of additional development as it relates to the amphitheater and the building, around the building and walking path. So a total of 10,000 square feet would be added that isn't currently impervious right now. So, and it's a quarter of an acre roughly, right? So not that much of paving over this large 30+ acre site, right? So just to kind of address that, the stage would be a couple thousand square feet, and then the amphitheater seating off the back of the building, not all the way down the slope, getting rid of all the grass, would be, and I don't know if you want to pull up maybe just the site plan. Thank you. And so that's kind of the factor of the balance of how we've tried to minimally impact the site. However, if we do paving adjacent to a drip line or underneath a tree, there are impacts to that, as the prior graphic showed. And then to kind of explain why the stage, why full-time, there is costs and time involved with a mobile stage. So we've had a mobile stage for some time. We do rent it out to other agencies and such. However, we thought this was an opportunity because we have put in some smaller amphitheater seating throughout, most recently in Rancho Potrero and Area 1. And then we've done it at some other park sites where it's worked really well from congregation. And it's not just for a big event, but for a Boy Scout gathering, Girl Scouts, it could be outdoor ballet class, it could be theater class. So there could be opportunities that are happening currently in the center that are going outside, or possibly from other units that are serving the community through their recreational programs that could be utilized in this site as well. Again, just being able to enhance further opportunities. And then, as planning staff mentioned, there would be 3 sycamores. Those 3 sycamores, I don't have a timestamp on it, but just from them being in a disturbed median area between a graded parking lot and the existing graded pad of the building, most likely those were planted when the park was developed. So they're about 60-plus-year-old trees that were planted by the county when the county operated the facility, as well as the item regarding traffic. So we are a special district. We're separate from the city. We looked at the use and demand, the current, what's happening with our environmental consultant as part of our mitigated negative deck, and reviewed the possible impacts of enhanced or more quantity of events and such. And by the traffic measures, and I won't get into all the data and the details, there was no need to add any off-site traffic control mechanisms. However, we would defer to Public Works, and we would be working through with them and through the approval process as well as the permitting process to be able to provide a safer improvement. So we would be open to any recommendations from Public Works to be able to provide a safer community park for the community. And the gentleman that mentioned deferring to Public Works, it's the city street, it's not the park street. So from a professional courtesy standpoint, we deferred to their direction in that because we're only worried about the developed park outside of the city right away. And then as far as homeless, everywhere throughout the world, but California specifically, because that's where we're at, we do have homeless, right, or unhoused, and that's not a crime. They are allowed to be in our parks. My staff interacts with the unhoused on a daily basis, just like you as community members. And so we look at it as a well-used park is a well-policed park, and it generates interest and noise and things that maybe some folks don't want to be there if a park is being well used. So we look at it as a well-used park as a deterrent for possible perceived nuisances within a community. And then I just really want to point to the supplemental packet as well. We do have 14 letters of support from various agencies as well as our nonprofit groups that utilize the property currently. And it is for a grant that we submitted last year. However, it is something of note to say, hey, we do have some very good support of the community and the folks that use it. And kind of back to the point of expanding and doing more concerts and all that, the goal of this project isn't to quadruple our concerts just because we're doubling the size of the building. There could be opportunities to do other types of concerts. But there also is the factor of we have parks, we have neighbors throughout the whole district. We have about 64 facilities, 55 plus parks, and our number one goal is to be good neighbors to our neighbors. And so if there would be expansion or if there were issues, we're here. We're not going away like a private developer. We're here. We've been part of the community, and we're going to continue serving the community. Concerts, environmental permitting, that would be something after approval possible tonight, that as we kind of work through the permitting, we would be working with the other agencies to get that proper environmental permitting in place and established to execute the work.
Okay, hang out. Let's see if there's any questions from commissioners. I had one, I think Ms. Kendall referenced that you would talk about the notice issue.
Yes, so we do a very robust mailing. I believe this park site, what we do is our initial mailing of the first swing really at a large project, right? And I believe, top of my head, we had 4 public meetings. This was prior to COVID. This was in the fall of 2019. And so we mailed out about 330 notices within 1,000 feet of the park site. And we also advertised via the Acorn. We advertise on site and other properties throughout the district. And I believe we did in our facility guide that gets mailed, or our program guide that gets mailed to every resident, every house in town. So we 40,000 plus folks that get that. And so that is our initial reach out. As we work through the process, the folks that are coming are involved, or the folks that are expressed interest in it, and they get added to an email list. That email list grows. If I get a random phone call a year later or one day after we have a meeting, we continue to add to that. So there was an initial reach out for that. However, as we move forward through a project, we don't continually to do email or mailing listings. But then we also, just like city staff mentioned, part of the noticing, this is a city process. However, I have hundreds of emails on an email group that are interested in this park site. And so what I did as the lead PM of the project was I sent it to the whole email group saying, hey, FYI, here's the city notice. However, that is technically not our policy or our procedure, but because we're honoring the civic and the interest of the public to be able to provide comment on the proposed project tonight.
Okay, I'm trying to remember, Ms. Kendall, was there anything else that you were looking the applicant to speak about besides that? I think there was the crosswalk. Who's doing the crosswalk?
Just that they are required per condition of approval to install the crosswalk and a sidewalk. I think that was it.
And just that's at Janine and Gainsborough. That would not be at Dover Hendricks. So that's on the west side of the park property, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners? I think that's it, thank you. So unfortunately, we can't reopen with regard to public comment. So at this point, I'm going to close the public comment or public hearing part of it, and then go to commissioners for comments or a motion. Commissioner McMahon.
This is a regional park. I recognize that there are concerns of the neighbors. I feel that the Park District has done their best to minimize the impact of the structure. And I do understand that there is a concern, and I feel for you. But they did have a traffic study. They did do all the things that you need to do before you have a project like this. And I will make the motion. I don't do this very often, so I move that we acknowledge the California CEQA mitigated negative declaration adopted by the Conejo Recreational Park District Board. Approve a developmental permit minor modification 2021-70567-DPMN to allow the demolition of an approximately 7,000 square foot community center building with a new 16,653 square foot community center building, construct new play areas, trails, trash enclosure, covered stage, amphitheater seating, and shade structures, and to renovate existing outdoor features, including the baseball field, playgrounds, picnic areas, bridges, trails, landscaping, freestanding restroom, and parking lots, as well as new landscaping and hardscaping. And number 3, approve a protected tree permit 2021-70523-PTP for the removal and replacement of 3 protected trees, relocation of 16 protected trees, encroachment into the protected zone of 48 protected trees, and planting of 21 replacement protected trees.
Thank you. Commissioner Link, any comments?
Just a few quick comments. I do recognize that there is going to be likely an increase of activity, so I would sort of lean on Mr. Mooney to, again, continue to be a good neighbor as CRPD has been. I see this personally as mostly a formalization of the existing activity in the park. Again, there are costs associated with having a trailer moved in. In fact, I think I might have seen Yachtly Crew for the first time at this park back before they were as big as they are now and having a residency in Las Vegas. So I guess everything starts in Thousand Oaks. But this is, to me, more of a formalization, and I think what I most appreciate is the fact that there are going to be facilities that are accessible. Right now, this park is more or less inaccessible for people who have disabilities, and that the stepped nature of the building and getting from the parking lot, which in and of itself is actually a little bit difficult to traverse, is going to provide those kinds of facilities for people who have disabilities. So being able to participate in these activities that most of us are able to enjoy, this is going to go a long way for that. The amphitheater doesn't sound like it's going to be used any more than it currently is, but it's a formalization of the existing activity and will help the park reduce its costs annually by having a fixed building. So I will support the motion.
From my viewpoint, I think there's 2 things we can all agree on. First of all, Mary is an asset to our community by getting the word out and being a good resource for information. But second of all, this park is amazing. It is one of our greatest resources. It's beautiful. I think I went there as part of just my, put on my different hat, and just walking through it is just an amazing, beautiful place. The difficulty, again, has kind of been pointed out, is that this is a community park for almost 30,000 people, which, based upon our district process, is almost an entire district now in terms of the number of people that access and use the park. The tough thing is that, yes, there's an impact on a number of people that are directly adjacent and involved in this park. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that will necessarily be positively affected that aren't sitting here right now. And the tough part of doing this job is you have to consider the interests of 127,000 people, or at least 30,000 people, that are using this park. And that's tough, because all of you that are frustrated and not happy make great arguments. And I can see it and I can appreciate it, and I see that. The difficult part is that there's a lot of balancing that goes on in this. And that's why you see I asked a lot of questions about various aspects of the process to make sure that it's not something that we're just kind of passing through, that we're actually trying to make sure that it is very detailed. By the way, we are not the city council also. We are not elected representatives. We are a executive body that enforces rules and regulations and codes. And based on my review of this process, this application complies with those codes. Not saying I love every aspect of it, not saying that it's not going to create issues, but from an overall community standpoint of tens of thousands of people, there are so many valuable benefits of what this plan is going to provide. Much like what we did before with the skate park, it'll be used for generations afterwards that will end up getting some of the benefits of some of these new things they're going to do. So again, I appreciate all the negative potential issues, but I think the positives far outweigh those potential issues. So I'm going to support it as well. So with that, Madam Secretary, please prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Link?
Yes.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Commissioners Ferris and Tyler Kettle-Hutt absent.
I think, I got to read, sorry. Any aggrieved party who wishes to appeal the Planning Commission's decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days. I think if it's okay, I'm going to take a 10-minute recess. So let's come back in 10 minutes and we can do 7C. Okay, so let's get back to our last matter. I'm giving everybody a chance to come back and sit down. Our last matter is item 7C, which involves 1651 Lynn Road. Will the recording secretary please open the public hearing?
Hearing having been advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 7C, vesting tentative tract map TTVM 2022-70793, residential plan development RPD 2022-70851, protected tree permit PTP 2022-70874, underground utility waiver UUW 2024-70002, and California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA 2023-70006, to adopt a CEQA mitigated negative declaration, MND, and allow the subdivision of 2 residential lots totaling 4.61 acres into 19 residential lots to accommodate the construction of 18 single-family residences, an internal private access road, walls, hardscape, landscape, a bioretention basin, grading, removal of oak trees, encroachment into the protected zone of oak trees, and a waiver from the requirement to underground associated utility lines. The majority of the proposed development will be located on the privately owned APN number 6, assessor's parcel number APN 660-0-030-165, 4.30 acres. However, the applicant is requesting the right of use over the city's 0.31 acre right-of-way parcel, APN 660-0-030-175. If granted, the developer agrees not to develop this 0.31 acre area and further agrees to maintain the landscaping of said parcel fronting West Lynn Road, located at 1651 West Lynn Road, assessor's parcel numbers 660-0-030-165 and 660-0-030-175. The applicant is Jeb Adams, 1651 Lynn Road, LLC.
Always amazed how you can able to do that so quickly. I see us, we have Senior Planner Carlos Contreras.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. The project before you tonight is a proposed tract map and single-family residential development at 1651 West Lynn Road. Before staff proceeds to the project details and evaluation, staff would like to go over the recommendation on the project that is before the Planning Commission tonight. The proposed project includes a request. Pardon me, sorry, slide. The proposed project includes a request to adopt a mitigated negative declaration and a mitigation monitoring program prepared in accordance with CEQA, and approve the project applications to construct 18 single-family homes and associated landscaping, hardscape, and grading for property located at 1651 Lynn Road. The associated applications are as follows. You have a vesting tentative tract map for a request to subdivide 2 residential lots, which totals 4.61 acres into 19 lots. You have a residential plan development with a request to allow construction of 18 single-family residences, including an internal private access road, new walls, hardscape, landscape, a bioretention basin, and grading. The third application you have is a protected tree permit to allow removal of 23 coast live oak trees and encroachment into the protected zone of 82 coast live oak trees. And the fourth application is an underground utility waiver request to waive the requirement to underground existing overhead utility lines and poles located along the western property line. The project also includes 3 modifications to the objective design standards, which will be discussed in further detail later in the presentation. As far as the project overview, again, the request involves the subdivision of 2 legal lots into 19 single-family residential lots of record to accommodate the construction of 18 single-family homes. Section 9.3202 of the Municipal Code empowers the Planning Commission to conditionally approve or disapprove a proposed subdivision, and Municipal Code Section 9-4.4206 requires the Planning Commission to review any request for the removal of 4 or more oak trees that are greater than 2 inches in diameter. In this case, the proposed project includes 23 protected tree removals, and so therefore the Planning Commission review and approval is required for the project. Now we're going to get into the project overview. The proposed project includes, again, 4.61 acre area. Again, that's consisting of 2 lots. You're going to have 18 single-family homes, 1 bioretention basin. The site density is 3.9 dwelling units to the acre. The private internal access road is proposed as a cul-de-sac. You will have gated access for the project. The project includes not only 23 oak tree removals, but also encroachments into various oak trees. And as I mentioned earlier, the project includes 3 modifications to the city's objective design standards. As far as the site plan, here's the site layout for the proposed project. As demonstrated here, the site is provided access from West Lynn Road, demonstrated here in the purple outline. That existing access road, known as Blair Court, extends approximately 200 feet to the north along a 55-foot road easement that's on the eastern portion of the property. You do have gated access to the property, demonstrated here in the yellow arrow, and then you have that cul-de-sac in the center of the site, demonstrated in green. The 18 single-family homes are identified in the blue squares, and the bioretention basin is included on the site plan here in the magenta color. As previously mentioned, this whole project will be within the 4.6 acre site. The southern portion of the property is the 0.3 acres, and the northern majority portion of the property is the 4.3 acre portion of the project. As far as project setting and site characteristics, the site is characterized by gentle sloping terrain. Here is an aerial map of the subject site. As shown here, the project site is bounded by Lynn Road to the south and Blair Court to the east. The subject property is characterized by gentle sloping terrain that descends from the northeast to the southwest. The site currently contains a single-family residence constructed in the 1970s, and the site also supports various oak trees. The subject property is zoned rural exclusive, and the land use designation is low-density residential, which allows for a maximum density on the site of 4.5 dwelling units to the acre. The site is primarily surrounded by single-family homes to the north, east, and west, and also open space to the south across Lynn Road. The proposed project site supports 129 oak trees, and although various oaks will be impacted, 106 oak trees will be preserved, but will be discussed in further detail later in the presentation. Here's a aerial photograph or aerial map demonstrating the project setting and characteristics. As shown here, the project site is outlined in red. You do have descending topography from the northeastern portion of the property down to the southwestern towards Lynn Road, indicated in the blue arrows. There are existing single-family homes to the north, the east, and the west, as indicated in the orange, and you also have an existing church to the southwest of the project site, and you have the open space across Lynn Road there to the south. And you also have Stagecoach beyond the single-family homes to the east, identified in the purple. Here's the photograph of the subject property as you're on Lynn Road, looking towards the northwest. As you can see on the left-hand side of the photograph here, you have West Lynn Road, and you have an existing bike lane. Blair Court access to the site leads to the north. Blair Court will be improved with sidewalk improvements along the western portion of Blair Court. Lynn Road will also include improvements, sidewalk improvements along the northern portion of Lynn Road. And then as shown here, the site does support existing mature foliage and landscaping that include oak trees along the southern portion of the property. And in the red, I identified there the location of the proposed single-family residences. Here's another vantage point of the subject property. This is within the interior of the site. Looking on the left-hand side, it's looking towards the west from the existing house driveway for the existing dwelling that's on the subject property. I did identify there in the green the existing oak trees that are on the northern portion of the site and also along the western property line. And then in the yellow, you have that sloping terrain that descends towards the southwestern portion of the property. And then in the blue, identified the approximate location of the internal access road, that cul-de-sac design for the project. And on the right-hand side is the existing single-family dwelling that was constructed in the 1970s. And this is looking from the interior portion of the site towards the south, towards Lynn Road. As far as just background and application history, the subject project was first reviewed, and all the applications were submitted in August 17th of 2022. And in November 1st of 2023, an agreement was executed with the environmental consultant to prepare the mitigating negative declaration for the project. And then in March of 21st of 2024, the notice of application was mailed and a sign was posted on subject property. And then on September 3rd to October 3rd of this year, the mitigated negative declaration was circulated for public review and comment. And then in November 4th of this year, the notice of hearing was mailed out to surrounding property owners, and the large hearing sign was updated and posted on the subject site. Now we move on to project evaluation. As I mentioned earlier, the project does include a vesting tentative tract map, and what's associated with that application is the subdivision of the 4.61 acres into 19 residential lots. The project density would include 3.9 dwelling units to the acre. The maximum allowed in the low density residential land use is up to 4.5 dwelling units per acre. The vesting tentative tract map would include improvements along the western portion of Lynn Road, and also improvements along Blair Court, which include road and sidewalk improvements. And the project also includes a new private internal road, and again, the 55-foot access easement along the eastern portion of the property would be maintained, and the project would include in the tract map one bioretention lot. And then the vesting tentative tract map would also include one HOA maintained 0.31 acre landscape area along the frontage of the property along Lynn Road. As far as the residential plan development, again, this project includes 18 single-family homes. They will provide for a 1- and 2-story mix. Four of the homes will be 1-story. 14 of the homes will be 2-story. The homes will include 2-car garage. The maximum height for the 2-story homes would be at 25-foot maximum, and the 1-story homes are at 15 feet in height. The project also includes, through the residential plan development, landscaping, hardscaping, retaining walls, and utilities. Based on project evaluation, the project does comply with all the development standards, including height and setbacks and parking, inclusive of the proposed modifications to the objective design standards. The project also includes architectural compatibility and for size, mass, and scale, and in compliance with the precise plan and design guidelines. Although the proposed project includes homes that are up to 25-foot tall, the proposed scale, mass, and roofline, vertical, horizontal design elements, and exterior material finishes and height are compatible with existing residences in the area. Further, as designed, the building materials and colors are compatible with existing natural and the built environment. As far as the project details on the housing type mix, as I mentioned earlier, they are including 1- and 2-story homes. There are 4 different model types. The 1-story single-family homes come in at approximately 2,000 square feet in area, and they include 3 bedrooms, 3 baths with the 2-car garage. And then the 2-story homes, the maximum proposed square footage would be at 3,056 square feet, which include 4 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms with a 2-car garage. As far as the inclusionary housing for the project, our city's inclusionary housing ordinance requires that residential developments with 10 or more units be subject to comply with this ordinance. The applicant would either have to construct the inclusionary units for the project, or they would have to pay an in lieu fee. Because the applicant is not constructing the moderate income inclusionary unit, the applicant would be paying an approximate fee of $780,000 for the in lieu fee associated with the inclusionary housing ordinance. So the proposed project does include 3 modifications to the objective design standards. Those include a modification to the restrictions on cul-de-sacs, gated access, and a flag lot. The proposed project and including these 3 modifications can be supported because an internal access road for the proposed project is supported because a secondary point of connectivity along the southwestern portion of the site to Lynn Road would require additional grading. And also, if they do propose additional access along Lynn Road on the southwestern portion of the property, there is topography there that would require that the access road be more than 15% gradient. Additionally, development within the southwestern portion of the site to include another point of access would impact additional oak trees, resulting in a design hardship based on existing site characteristics. The project includes gated access directly from Blair Court. The gated access can be supported in that the project is consistent with existing surrounding uses. Direct access to Lynn Road would not be obstructed, and the existing community is connected by a network of existing roads, bicycle lanes, and sidewalks, which would not be impacted by the proposed gated access. Furthermore, surrounding neighborhoods provide gated access, and therefore the project is consistent with surrounding development and the community character as it is today. And the third, regarding the flag lot, staff can support this proposed modification because it would allow for the minimum project density while reducing encroachment and removal of oak trees. Prohibiting the project from including a flag lot would present a hardship due to site constraints resulting from the site topography and oak tree impacts. The flag lot would allow the proposed tract at the allowable density and also reduce grading, landform alterations, and impacts to additional oak trees. Further, the flag lot and residents are sited on the subject property in an area that would be screened by the expansive landscaping that's along Lynn Road. As far as the oak tree impacts, the proposed project site does support 129 Coast Live oak trees. The project does include removal of 23 oak trees, and those oak trees are in average to poor health. They are required to accommodate the proposed residences. The encroachments include pruning and encroachments for sidewalk and fence clearances. The majority of those oak trees are of average health. Here in this map, we demonstrate the location of the proposed oak tree removals identified in the red dashes. As demonstrated here, the majority of those oak trees are in clusters, and they're located primarily along the southern portion of the proposed cul-de-sac internal access road and along the, for the retaining walls along the northern portion of the property next to lot 15 and 16 here on the map. It should be noted that of the 23 oak tree removals, 18 of those oak trees have trunk sizes that are 3 inches or less, and 14 of those have trunk diameters that are 2 inches or less, and only one oak tree number 7, is approximately 47 inches, but is also in poor structure and in health. Here's a photograph demonstrating the the typical oak trees that are going to be removed resulting from the proposed project. Have oak tree number 11, 8 and 9, and 10 that are located just adjacent to that proposed cul-de-sac that I was demonstrating on the prior map. As far as the underground utility waiver, here in the purple I demonstrate the location of the existing utilities and poles along the western portion of the property, along the west property line. Those existing poles do serve an existing institutional use, that church use on the southwest, and also residential uses to the northwest there. These existing poles are screened by mature landscaping along Lynn Road. As I mentioned prior, that the site elevation does descend from the eastern portion to the western portion of the property. So where the poles are located, it's approximately 20-foot drop. So with that and the mature landscaping, those poles are fairly screened. And then, the applicant is requesting this underground utility waiver because there are existing oak trees to the north of the subject property, and by not having to underground those utilities, they would avoid further tree impacts. The applicant would be required to pay an in lieu fee of approximately $100,000 for any future projects, and if the site were to have undergrounding of utilities in the future, that they would go into a fund for that. Here are the elevations for the proposed project. This right here demonstrates a rendering of the four plan sets that are proposed for the project. The two-story element of the home does not exceed 25 foot in height. As shown here, you have roofline variation, you have facade articulation, the garage is recessed 10 feet behind the main residence. You have various building materials applied to the project. They're using earth tone colors. And although the new development does provide a more modern design than surrounding development, various building design features have been implemented to reduce impacts to surrounding properties. The project meets the city's objective design standards and architectural design guidelines, which require that the architectural design of any new home blend with the surrounding residential area, yet be distinctive with nearby development. In this case, the proposed development incorporates architectural finishes such as flat rolled roofing and metal roof, architectural elements. You have wood, stone veneer, stucco, and windows that include contemporary contrasting and framing, and other architectural design features that meet the city's design guidelines while maintaining compatibility with surrounding properties. Here's another rendering of the two-story and one-story plan. On the left-hand side, you can see the single-family home, one-story single-family home will not exceed 15 feet in height. And then on the right-hand side, you have the two-story single-family residences and using these earth tone colors with roofline variations and facade articulation will not exceed 25 feet in height. As far as public correspondence, legal notification was posted on the property fronting Westland Road. Property owners within 500 feet were mailed and notified of the proposed project. Staff did receive a couple of letters and correspondence, not only in support of the project, but they also had comments regarding improvements along Blair Court, including street naming if the project is approved, and also a proposed retaining wall being required for the project along the eastern portion of Blair Court. Staff did address the adjacent property owners' comments and concerns in coordination with a Public Works and Ventura County Fire, and it was included in the Planning Commission's packet as correspondence. As far as the environmental review for the project, in accordance with CEQA, a comprehensive evaluation of potential environmental impacts was performed for the project. This evaluation determined that the project could have a significant effect on the environment without appropriate mitigation measures in place. Therefore, a mitigating negative declaration was prepared. The M&D identified potential significant impacts to biological, cultural, geological, and tribal resources. However, mitigation measures have been applied to the project to ensure that the potential impacts are reduced to a less than significant level. The M&D was posted for 30-day public review period between September 3rd, 2024 to October 3rd, 2024. The draft M&D was submitted to the State Clearinghouse, and staff received correspondence from 3 public agencies, that is Ventura County Air Pollution District, Caltrans, and California Fish and Wildlife. It should be noted that none of the comments received merit any substantial change to the analysis or conclusions contained in the mitigating negative declaration. Again, appropriate measures are in place to ensure no significant environmental impacts will result from the project. The CEQA findings for the M&D and mitigation measures are incorporated into the project resolution. The mitigation monitoring program and response to comments was also included for the Planning Commission in the final mitigating negative declaration provided with the November 18th, 2024 Planning Commission staff report. In conclusion, staff supports the project because the project is consistent with the city's general plan land use designation of low-density residential. The proposed project does meet the city's code standards and policies, inclusive of the 3 modifications that are requested by the applicant. The proposed project is compatible with surrounding land uses, and the project design meets visual impacts as far as reducing those visual impacts to surrounding properties. The project design avoids encroachment into slopes over 25% natural sloping terrain, and the project would not be detrimental to public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt a mitigated negative declaration and MMRP in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, approve the vesting tentative track map 2022-70793, RPD 2022-7081, PTP 2022-70874, and underground utility waiver 2024-7002. This is inclusive of the requested modifications to the objective design standards and based on the findings and subject to the conditions contained in the draft resolution. Staff would like to mention that the commission did receive a supplemental packet today, a memorandum from staff regarding findings and conditions of approval for the project. One condition was added to provide further details regarding the required inclusionary housing in lieu fee applied to the project. And then a condition of approval was deleted based on a project redesign. There's no longer a pool or a pool house required for the project or proposed. And so that condition of approval will be deleted from the resolution. And then the third revision is regarding clarifying the findings regarding rounding up the 20.7 units on the project to 21. There's no density bonus proposed with this project. And so we don't round up. It's not 21 maximum, it's 20 units that are proposed. So anyways, that's staff's presentation for the project. Planning staff are available for your questions and also public works staff as well.
Thank you. I initially wanted to mention that I actually was at the project today and talked to the owner, Mr. Adams, for a few minutes. I wanted to make sure that was known as part of the process. Questions by commissioners for staff? Commissioner McMahon?
Yes, so it's a private road, and that means that the actual homeowners will maintain the road and the city will not?
Yes, the private road would be maintained by the HOA that's going to be executed for the proposed project.
Okay, and then the bioretention basin, is anything done there? Is it just a curved area on that particular lot that can hold water from rain runoff, or is it going to be concreted, or is it underground?
We will review that at the time of the proposal, actual drawings and gradings, but normally these are natural or not concrete there. And we like to make sure as much water that we can put back into the ground, it can happen.
So it may be like a depression.
It will be a depression, like a little dry lake, I guess.
Okay. And then, let's see, I had a couple more questions. Will the size and configuration of the lots allow for street parking?
Yes. Right now, the proposed project would allow for street parking, and it also allows for parking in the driveway if they wanted to, but the requirement is that the two-car garage be provided for each single-family home so that cars can be parked within the garage, but it would be available to park on the street if necessary.
I was just thinking that with a four-bedroom house, often there's more than two cars, and so as long as there's street parking, that's good. And then would you elaborate, when you talked about the gated community aspect, you said there was connectivity. Would you elaborate a little bit, the connectivity with other neighborhoods?
What I meant, based on the site layout and existing site characteristics, there is existing gated access along Blair Court, along the northern terminus of that road. That gated access provides access to one existing single-family home. And so there is additional gated access to properties along Susan Drive towards Stagecoach. But for this particular project, since they're requesting a modification, right, which objective design standards restricts gated access, what staff was saying is that based on the existing gated communities that are surrounding the property, this proposed project, based on the location of the gated access, there would be no obstruction to existing, roads, Lynn Road, or no obstruction to pedestrian path to travel, and no obstruction to the existing gated access to the north. That's the analysis and evaluation staff did in order to support this proposed gated access, meaning that the applicant team did not come in to try to put a gate along Blair Court, right, at the terminus of that, at the entrance along the southern portion of the property.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. That's all for now.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner Link?
I just had one quick one. Is staff concerned at all with the width or the driveway throat with respect to the, I guess, the keypad location, it being a fairly narrow 20 feet for two vehicles to pass each other if necessary?
No, actually, we did put templates on it for big trucks and make sure everything can pass through, and it was consulted by fire department. Fire engines can get through and can get out both way.
Excellent, thank you.
So I was out there today trying to understand the layout. We've designated Road A and Road B. Is that all going to be the same street name?
If the project is approved and entitled, the applicant would come in at post-approval for street naming. Right now, it's Lane A and Lane B. Right, Lane A would be the cul-de-sac, and Lane B is Blair Court, for purposes of the vesting tentative track map. If the project is approved tonight, the applicant comes in, submits a street naming, and they have to comply with our street naming city's policies. And that's in coordination with planning staff, public works staff, and also Ventura County Fire Department to ensure that the street naming meets our criteria.
Okay. And my concern was 1511 and 1521, are they going to have they're getting a street name change, but it'll be to Blair Court, it sounds like.
There will be, yes, the addressing will change, but we don't know if it would end up being Blair Court at this time.
Okay. And just to make, we're on the same page, the gate into this will be at the entrance to the cul-de-sac, not from Lynn or to the other existing properties.
That is correct.
Okay. Those are my questions at the moment. Any other questions? All right, so let's have the applicant team come up, and you'll have 15 minutes.
In Oak Park. And
Say that one more time. I unfortunately didn't hit the button soon enough. Say it one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jeb Adams, and I live in Oak Park. I've been living in the Conejo Valley since 1978. Went to high school here and raised my family. So
Could you use the other mic? I think it's a bit closer to your mouth so we can make sure that we can hear you.
Hello. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, I've lived in the community a very long time, and it's definitely my home, and I love this area, and I've been here, and hopefully I'll be here a long time. When I bought this property about 3 years ago, I've been in the real estate business for about 20 years here, and it was really important to me because we don't really have that much single-family houses left, land to build single-family. And so the few parcels that are left, this was actually one of them. And I wanted to build kind of more modern, contemporary architecture, because everybody that comes to sees me and people from Amgen and all the bio companies, they want some different architecture because we kind of just have Spanish and Mediterranean. So that's kind of why I designed it this way, and it was something that people seem to want in the area. And I just want to thank the staff and Public Works for helping through the 2.5 years we've been doing this to get the project to this point, and very excited about it, and I think that's all I have to say.
Okay, let me see if there's somebody else from your team. Please state your name and city of residence.
Mark DeCecco, DeCecco Architectural Project Architect from beautiful Moore Park, California. My office is located there. I live there as well, have lived in Ventura County for the last 33 years. First of all, I have to thank staff. They did a diligent job. We worked through multiple iterations over years, which is fairly typical for Ventura County. But just to give them additional kudos, they were challenged by not cities updating their general plan while we were going through this process, state housing laws changing every legislative cycle. And even in our initial discussions, we even predated the objective design standards. So we've come a long way, thanks to staff. Staff report's really thorough, so as an architect, I'm going to do something unusual. I'm not going to have a PowerPoint. So, there you go. Basically, we're just going to enhance some of the comments that he made. Objective design standards, as you know, we meet the setbacks, articulation, four-sided architecture. Again, we're trying to make a great project. We work together with staff on that. Modifications, just to mention one of the comments about the cul-de-sac, there's an existing access on Lynn Road. Lynn Road at that point is 50 miles an hour speed limit. We don't need to add a second access. We think that probably be more dangerous than it would be practical. Flag lot, again, as staff mentioned, is really only there so we develop more of the site that impacts less of the trees. Open space, there was a lot of back and forth about the visual impact of what this project's going to do to the open space. And Carlos, could I actually get you to put up the project settings slide that you had? Sorry, now I am going to do something visual. There it is there. So you can see the open space directly across Lynn Road. I'm actually a mountain bike rider, and so I use that trail quite a bit. That access is Rosewood from that point. But where the trails are located is in the very lowest end on the east side of that. So where that little knoll is, where there would be any sort of visual impact across the street, is really not there because there are no trails up in that portion of the site. But we are maintaining an entire row of all of those existing trees along Lynn. Those are all going to be maintained, so another reason why we're not going to be able to see our project there. So the South Oak Tree Grove is going to remain as a pretty significant buffer. The other thing is Lynn Road, at that point, the site dips and Lynn Road lifts at the same time. So the project is actually down in a bowl down below. And the other thing we did is the two houses that are closest to Lynn Road are also one-story houses, just to reduce them even further into the ground at that point. Another minor comment, quite a few of the smaller oak trees are actually non-natives. They were planted by the previous owners, and so they aren't native to the site prior to development. Really quickly about the houses, they range from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. 4 different floor plans, which is pretty unusual for a project of only 18 houses. All of at least one downstairs bedroom. All have covered outdoor space. I won't go into the architecture because he already has, which is, again, unusual for an architect. Just another comment, though. They're all built with fire sprinklers, which is fairly typical, but this is also a high fire hazard area. So we're complying with all the high fire hazard to reduce the vulnerability of the project. And just to answer Commissioner McMahon, the bioretention basin will be landscaped. Okay, so it's not going to be a concrete basin at that point. And yes, there is exit. There will be parking on the street, but there's also 2 cars in the garage and the ability to have 2 cars in the driveway in front of the garage as well. And the rest of the comments were answered by staff. So I'm here with any questions. The civil engineer's here as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is any other comments from the applicant team? It doesn't seem so. I do have 2 questions. Well, actually, Commissioners, questions for the applicant? I do have 2 questions, Mr. Adams, for you that I ask for all applicants, and I will apologize ahead of time, but this is a standard questions I ask. Initially, the staff has a bunch of different, obviously, requirements as part of the report. Are you in agreement with all of the terms and conditions of the staff report in terms of the concessions and other things that you must do?
Yes.
Second, and again, this is more just my own edification, is this something you actually intend to bill, or are you just getting the entitlements to flip it and sell it to somebody else?
Haven't decided yet, so I might JV it with somebody or not, or
I
build it or
appreciate your
sell it.
honesty.
Yeah.
Okay, that's questions. Any other questions for the, okay, that'd be it for those questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
We do have some speakers. Ms. Secretary, I have 1 speaker card. No, I had a comment card from, I think, one of the prior applications that I'll give you later on. But we have only 1 speaker card for somebody who's not part of the applicant team, and that is Jeff Bass. And I will say there was one written statement card that was opposed to the project. Mr. Bass, could you please state your full name and city of residence?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Bass. I live at 1511 Susan Drive in Newberry Park, adjacent to Jeb's development. I really think it's a great development. I want to compliment Jeb and Carlos for being very proactive in communication. I know the last folks seem to have some communication problems. We have not. Jeb's been through the whole process, talking to me. My other neighbor here, Marshall, is at the next property. I think that fits the neighborhood well. I think it's been very thoughtful as to which trees they're taking out and where they're placing the homes. I think the bioswale, I don't know what the words are for it, but I think that's well thought of. It is a very sloped property. And I'm at kind of at the top of the slope, and then it slopes down. Part of it's a little higher as well, and there's a potential for water flow from that property onto mine. So I want to make sure that the engineers have all that in their thought process. The road has actually always been known as Susan Drive for 50 plus years, and for some reason on the maps it's Blair Court. That's not anyone's fault, but I've been living at Susan Drive on that road for 30 years, and you for about the same. That's my neighbor Marshall, who's at the other property. So the bottom line is I support the property plan. I think it's well designed. I think the developer's done everything to communicate with us. I actually think it fits well with the new general plan. I would like to have input into the street naming. I've mentioned that in a comment to staff. And I am concerned about that road with the amount of traffic on it, both for construction and for how it's engineered for the project, but I think the engineering staff is up with that. So I do want those concerns on the record, but to my knowledge, they're addressing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And those are the only comments that I had, so at that point, we'll go back to staff if you have any further comments.
Regarding the request to be involved in the street naming at post-approval, if the project gets approved, staff will coordinate with the adjacent property owner to get some comments, feedback, and ideas, and we'll vet it through the policy that the city has for street naming.
Okay, sounds good. And then, again, according to our process, it's back to the applicant team for any rebuttal, if you wanted to have 5 minutes of further time to say anything. I respect a former planning commissioner who tries to respect time. So, but if there's anything else you wanted to say rebuttal-wise? No? Okay, so at that point, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open the matter to the commissioners for comments or motion. I moved too quickly. Commissioner Link.
It would occur to me that this is the highest and best use of this property. It's certainly not utilized as well as it could be. It looks like it's going to be a very pretty property. I think I echo the comments about the speed limit. 2 access points, probably not the best idea. So I agree with all the waivers that, or not waivers, but at least the objective design standards, whatever we're not doing that we've agreed to. Again, apologies, I'm feeling caught off guard. But either way, I will, again, go ahead and support the project and make sure I'm on the right one here. Yes, I am. I will move that we adopt a resolution based on the findings and subject to the conditions contained therein to approve the mitigated negative declaration, CEQA 2023-70006, and mitigation monitoring and reporting program in accordance with CEQA, and approve VTTM 2022-70793, RPD 2022-70851, PTP 2022-70874, and UUW 2024-7002, inclusive of the requested ODS modifications.
Sounds good. Commissioner McMahon, any comments?
I do agree with Commissioner Link, and I appreciate that the neighbor has come forward to say that he likes it and approves it. And the one thing that he said I agree with is it does appear to be a very well thought out project. So I will support the motion.
I would share that sentiment. It's nice to see that you went through the process of communicating and making sure that all of the stuff was done in terms of things you needed to do to come before us. So I appreciate that, and I will support it as well. So, Madam Secretary, please prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lake?
Yes.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Commissioners Ferris and Tyler Kettle-Hutt absent.
I have to read this as well. Any aggrieved party who wishes to appeal the Planning Commission's decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days. That'll end item 7 for public hearings. Item 8, department reports. There is none. Item 9 is commission comments and AB 1234 reports. Any, Commissioner McMahon?
Yes, I do want to report that I did attend the Ventura County Housing Conference recently. We went to a panel discussion of in lieu fees, as well as some other talks that were very informative. That's it.
Commissioner Link? I was sitting with Commissioner McMahon and actually right in front of Mr. Contreras, who also attended the same conference, and we were in a discussion room about various things cities are doing to try to incentivize developers, including deferring in lieu fees and other things, which is very difficult to do. But our city, I feel confident, is doing everything possible to be as cooperative and helpful and positive as we can, especially getting through a general plan update that took 7 years of time. So with that, I would just say I'm glad that voting is over and we can hopefully welcome our new city council whenever they're finally elected. It seems California takes a long time to figure that out. Item 10, staff update. Ms. Melliker, are there any follow-up items, announcements, upcoming issues, or planning commission meetings we should know about?
Yeah, tomorrow it will be city council meeting. There will be a public hearing on a municipal code amendment that the planning commissioner considered back in September. And this is the one related to the housing program 8 for the housing element, which included the manufactured homes, density bonus, emergency shelters, residential care facility, transitional supportive, farm worker, and employee housing. Also tomorrow, there will be a department report requesting that City Council approve a contract award for the zoning code update and sign code update. And lastly, Conejo Ridge Road, there will be, in the consent calendar, there will be an item for purchase of open space located on the Conejo Ridge Road, north of Skyline Drive by the city, and subsequent transfer to Costco. Following that meeting on December 3rd, there also will be a public hearing on the municipal code amendment implementing the housing element programs for voluntary lot mergers and SB 35 streamlined process and incentives for affordable housing with lot consolidation that Planning Commission considered on September 23rd, and a second reading on the consent calendar for the municipal code amendment ordinance implementing housing element program 8 for zoning code amendments if approved on November 19th. For Planning Commission at this point, there are no items scheduled for the upcoming meeting of December 2nd. And so we'll see if any other meetings come about that needs to be scheduled. At this time, there's none. On December 9th, there will be a wireless public hearing for 952 Rockfield Street, and that will be our last meeting for the year. And that is it.
So I'll adjourn to a meeting that's maybe not going to happen, but we'll do it anyway. So at this point, I'll adjourn this meeting, and the next meeting is scheduled for December 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Good night, Thousand Oaks.